the I'm a Fan Of podcast, music, comedy, and more.
Danny Tran.
Travis Wright.
What's up, dude?
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I got to say, you are you're the only guest I've had on here that I've only seen one time.
Nice.
Normally, I'll go watch people multiple times to see like good or bad nights or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, dude, when I saw you, man, my wife came with me and we watched you at the Kessler.
Nice.
You know, that big Kessler show.
Yeah.
And you just killed it, man. So I was very curious about you, you know.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for stopping in. But speaking of that show that you opened on that set, how much time did you do? Like maybe 10 minutes?
15.
15?
Yeah, host spot 15 minutes up top.
Did you feel like that was a harder host spot being in that Kessler? It's like a music venue for people who don't know. So it's not quite a theater, but it's definitely not a comedy club.
It's not. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But how did that feel coming on that stage? Because that's an odd room to open up, right?
Yeah, it was very big. It was very big. And I think in a theater, you have to do like slower jokes a little bit, let them really sink in. And there's like, I'm a cleaner comic, you know, so you don't want to do any dirty stuff at like a theater. It just comes off a certain way, you know?
Okay.
So, yeah, it was different than a comedy club opening for sure.
Did you feel well, how long have you been doing comedy? I don't know anything about you.
Yeah. So, I just moved here a couple months ago, but I've
Yeah.
done comedy 4.5 years.
Okay. Where'd you move from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
All right. So you told me you just got married 4 months ago?
Yeah.
Dude. And so y'all moved here right after you got married or right before?
Right before we got married, and we got married here. So.
Okay. So you've been in Texas how long?
I was born and raised in Houston, but then and I've been in Dallas for 6 months now.
6 months. Dude, welcome. I didn't realize you were this new around here.
I made 6 mortgage payments. That's how I keep track of it.
yeah. I've officially paid 6 bills.
Yeah. It's been a quick turnaround for me, man. It's been pretty fun.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, 6 months and you're already doing some fun shows. It sounds like is the local scene kind of embracing you and helping you get along around here?
So I started comedy in Peoria, Illinois, like 4.5 years ago. Did 2 years there, and then I moved to Atlanta for 2 years, and then I was like researching where I want to end up, like my home base, because I was like, I'm a Texas guy. I want to either Houston or Dallas, you know.
Yeah.
So do the festivals, both cities, and then I realized like Dallas, there's like 10 clubs, like 10, 15 clubs, and I'm a clean guy. I'm like, dude, it's a perfect fit. You know, it's like they're always looking for clean openers. You know, it's like.
Have you got to do the majority of the clubs yet? Because that's a short time that you've been here.
Yeah,
so.
I work backdoor a lot.
Okay, that's perfect. That's the clean club.
I know.
Right?
And I met Linda at the festival. That like I hit it off with her. I was like, okay.
Oh, okay.
She's like, if you're a movie, I'll take care of you.
Was that like the Plano Comedy Festival?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did that one like 2 or 3 years ago, and then I thought I had a good set, and then she stole the show, and my in-laws still bring it up to this day. They're like, oh, we gotta go watch Linda again. But
I talked about her on here a couple times because she's just really unique woman, really unique comic, and I'm in this unique stage of me watching her because I've seen her set a lot now. My wife and I had watched her for like a decade, and so we kind of understand her style at least, you know. But now I'm getting to see people like at that Kessler show who had never seen her before.
oh yeah,
And so they get to see the weirdness and the strangeness for the first time. And now that it makes me more excited to watch people watching Linda now than just watching Linda.
right. It's so different than everyone. Like it's just a different age and
Yeah.
like different kind of style. It's clean, you know. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
Okay, now I do got the thing that has been driving me crazy about you because you seem very you seem relatively compared to comics at least mature, professional.
Oh sure.
But in your set, you were talking about how you've been fired from every job.
no,
you ever had? Oh, okay.
that is I've left every job I ever had. But
Left
yeah,
every
yeah.
job. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
For some reason, I thought you said you were fired.
Yeah, well, it's weird because the joke hits harder when it's fired because you get like
yeah,
a chuckle that way for some reason. It's like it's definitely hyperbolizing statement, but yeah.
Have you been fired?
I have. Yes, I have. I used to have a waiter job.
Okay.
I was a terrible waiter, and then
Hold on. Paint the scene. What was the restaurant? What type of restaurant?
So this was back in Peoria.
Uh-huh.
I was probably a year or two into comedy, and it was a steakhouse.
Okay.
Like I used to wear a tie, like the whole thing.
So like a nice steakhouse.
Oh, it was like a nice.
Like we're going out for anniversary kind of steakhouse.
and that was like the one steakhouse in Peoria. Like it was like a big deal.
Okay, yeah.
But they were hiring people like quick because COVID. Like people weren't working. So
Yeah.
I had no experience. I was a lifeguard a couple years ago. I'm used to customer service, you know. And then they hired me. You were reeling like $200, $300 a night, like working that. But I was terrible. Like I would spill martinis every time, like trying to carry.
Like carrying a tray. you
Oh
mean?
yeah, dude. They asked me like, can you?
So for reference, I waited tables at Chili's and Buffalo Wild Wings.
Okay, right on.
So
yeah.
waited tables, but never high end. And I always wondered how. You know, obviously you don't have reference for like what Chili's is like.
Right.
But I always wondered just how much more difficult and stressful it was at a higher end place.
Oh,
Because I can just come in jeans and a t-shirt. Like, hey, how's the afternoon? A couple beers, you know?
Yeah.
But so you're carrying trays of martinis and spilling them?
Those like that level restaurant, you split up like the selling, like the upsell opportunity. Like I took the drinks and some guy had the desserts, or like we take turns.
Oh.
So you had to be like a subject matter expert on like desserts or like wines. And when I get stuck with the wine, I'm 22. I just started drinking like Long Island iced teas like a month ago. You know, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I would work. I would like spill everything, but I would still show up on time. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to start calling off Saturdays because the club needed me to like do guest spots.
Gotcha.
And then one weekend, the lady was like, the owner of the club in Peoria was like, "Hey, you want to open for Erica Rhodes?" And at the time, do you know who Erica Rhodes is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, see, at the time, I was like, this is the biggest. You're going to
Yeah.
take me on the road with her. I'm going to quit my job, you know? So I got fired from the restaurant. She's like, if you can't keep showing up on Saturdays, like doing all this stuff, you're done.
I mean, that's the money-making night, right? It's
Yeah.
Saturday at
Yeah.
both spots, though.
Both
So
spots.
that is a terrible job for a comic, like waiting
Yes,
tables.
yeah.
But, you know, I have this theory. So I waited tables long before COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I didn't realize it until now, but I think I got really lucky because there were still these people pre-COVID who would wait tables as like their career. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
yeah.
they weren't going to college. They weren't doing anything. They were just waiting tables. So even at Chili's, there was somebody that they worked the day shift and they worked.
Yeah.
They had their set hours and they had their kids and their spouse, and you know, they really knew how to hustle and make their money on just like a lunch rush.
Yes.
So then when I'm training, I got to learn from these people where it's like their livelihood dependent on it. So they taught
Yeah.
you just all the tricks of how to be a good server, how to upsell, how to get people in and out without feeling like you're rushing them. Mm-hmm. And then I think when COVID hit, all those people were like, forget it.
Yeah.
I can't depend on this anymore. I'm going to go get into something else. And now I can never tell. I'm probably just becoming old, but I do feel like I'm like, man, service just feels like it's going down.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
Okay, and that's my theory. Is like, no offense to you, but that's my theory. Is people who left during COVID, the veterans of the industry, they're gone, and then the restaurants panicked when everything opened. Oh God, we got to hire people. Got to hire people.
That's what happened.
So boom, you come in, but you don't have any veterans to train with anymore. It's
Yeah.
just you and a bunch of other people who've never waited tables, all trying to figure it out.
Yes.
Was it kind of like that, or
Yeah, and it's not my livelihood either. I had
Yeah.
another day job too, so it was like
Oh,
spare
okay.
money. I had this idea I was gonna like save up super money and then like buy a van and just do comedy out of the van. Like
No way.
That was like my true plan before I met my wife. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that bachelor life. But
So you haven't heard it yet, but I just released an episode with. By the time this is out, Danny McGow. Have you met him?
yeah, long hair guy.
Yeah. So he was talking to me about how he has plans to live in his car for about like 5 or 6 months.
It's
Just save up some money. And he showed me, he was here when we got done with the interview. He's
Yeah.
like, do you want to see the car? Do you want to see the setup? Because he was building out like a bed frame on the inside and everything. So
Is it a Sprinter he's trying to do?
no,
or-
he's doing it in like a
Oh.
Corolla.
See, like,
Like a Toyota Corolla.
dude. I have friends from Atlanta. They're like road dogs like that.
Yeah.
I had a friend pull up to Backdoor Comedy Club to the mic, and he's like, "Yo, I'm living in my car." I'm like, "You want to check it out?" Bed frame, like lopsided bed.
Mm-hmm.
He has like a cooler with like ice cream sandwiches in it. I'm like, dude, this is not like vital to life. Like, you gotta like get a house, man. Like,
Yeah. But you talked about the Sprinter van. A Sprinter van is like $100,000.
so when I started like the comedy thing 4 years ago, before
Yeah.
COVID, it was like 20, 30 grand. You get like the frame and you just build it out.
Yeah.
Now it's like 150 grand because you got solar panels,
Uh-huh.
you got HVAC in your van. It's
All
like,
the hipsters got on it. All the all the super influencer types who were like, just live in your van and go to national
know.
parks and tour the world.
I know.
And then all the people who make them, you know, Mercedes and stuff, they're like, okay, yeah, we can jack the price up on this.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Because that was there was this great like meme or something going around how like Saturday Night Live, Chris Farley used to have this running bit where it's like, if you don't get your life together, you're gonna live in a van down by the river,
Yeah,
right?
down by the river.
Down by the river. And then now it's like, you need to get your life together so you can live in a van down by the river.
That's great. When I did the math on it, I was like, I can't even afford to live in a van. Like this 150
man.
grand because it's up front, or like you have to pay like
Yeah.
a 36-month payment plan. I'm like, I can't afford that.
We
so.
think even with our home now, we're like, what if we just sell this home, buy something like that, save some money, and then you do the math and you're like, oh no,
Not at all.
The equity we have in our home might be enough for the van now.
Yeah.
Might be enough
because you have kids.
Yeah, we have one kid.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, we couldn't do it anyway. We would kill each other if we lived in a van.
100%.
Couldn't do it.
100%. Yeah.
Were you engaged already when you were talking about living in a van?
I was not. No,
You're not?
no,
Yeah.
I was
So
not.
she probably shut that down too, right?
She was not on board with that at all. Yeah. and you know, I've had comics tell me, dude, this is the way to go. Like, don't get married young and stuff.
Yeah.
But then I've seen enough 40-year-old comics that are single, just like ripping cigs and just getting hammered. You know, it's like, I've seen enough cautionary tales. It's like, okay, who am I?
I've watched enough incredible comics who were married with kids. I mean, like some of your best examples right now, like Nate Bargatze.
Nate Bargatze, yeah.
Family Man, kids. But even before him, like Jim Gaffigan. I think Jim Gaffigan has like 5 kids.
Oh, yeah.
Living in New York City. It's like he's figured it out.
Yeah, John Mulaney has 2 families, you know? He's ran it back twice, you know? Super family.
Yeah,
man.
I don't think, and it's just, I think it's different perspectives. Like, I think those comics who are 40-year-olds living out of their van, still being like a road dog, I think they just like that romantic side of comedy.
Right.
And it's like, hey, if that's what you love, that's great.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's you got to do it this way. You got to experience it.
No.
Because, like, man, that sounds terrible.
Also, I work out every day. These
Yeah.
comics don't. It's like, I don't
Well, we were talking before, fellow runner. I did
Yeah.
accidentally, I wore this shirt and you were like, dude, I ran that marathon.
Yeah.
So, dude, I get it now. I get it. But you ran the full marathon?
Mhm. Yeah, the full marathon.
I wish I would have known you when you were running it, so we could have passed each other at some point.
Oh, you would have. I finished in 5 hours 50 minutes. You were way ahead of me, probably. I was.
Not way ahead. I was 5 hours 36 minutes.
Dude, we could have carpooled.
We could have been pretty close, man.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Wow. Was that the first one?
That was my only ever marathon I ran.
Only
yeah.
ever.
Yeah. I never done a half or any of that stuff.
Okay, I did it the same way. Well, you met Michael Pasvar on the Kessler show, right?
Yeah.
So he's the one who got me into it.
Is he a marathon runner?
Yes, he has finished a marathon, so he is a marathon runner.
Okay.
But he has swore he never wants to do it again.
Yeah, man.
But no, him and his friend Sonny, they wanted to do one in 2020. They wanted to do the Dallas Marathon.
Sure.
And it got canceled with COVID, so they didn't do it. In 2021, they were talking about doing it again, and I remember being jealous, like in 2020 when they were talking about it. I was like, I should have done it. Like, I'm fatter than I've ever been. I'm out of shape. This is the time. And they called themselves the Juicy Joggers. So I was like, this is perfect because it's just dudes with dad bods trying to figure something out.
Yeah.
So it was about maybe 3 or 4 months out. I was like, I'm going to do it with you guys. I'm going to do it. I want to do it. And so we just had a good like group text going and just shit talking the whole time, trying to keep each other on it, And the first one, I finished in 6 hours and something. I can't remember what it was.
It's cutting it close.
It was close.
6.5 cutoff, right?
The last probably, half mile. So the course was different than the one you ran.
Okay.
The course went through Deep Ellum. And
geez.
You know how like the one you ran, it's like you kind of went to downtown and then they faked you out and you went like around it again and then you came back up the backside up the hill where Kennedy was shot.
Yeah.
So they didn't do that. We just came back into downtown and you were done. And so it was great. And it was all downhill. It was
it's
perfect.
nice, yeah.
But so when I was in Deep Ellum, they were pulling up the course. And so I just happened to know the streets of Deep Ellum, so I got back there. But Michael Pasvar got lost.
Oh,
so
wow.
I think he ended up running 28 miles.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's every marathon, though.
Yeah.
I checked my watch. I'm like, how am I at 30 miles in an ultra marathon? Like,
Yeah. And wait, did you do the ultra?
No.
I was like,
you know how,
because if you did the ultra in 550, you were way faster than me.
You don't take like the efficient turns or something. Like, I feel like
You know what I think it is? It's like just the little side to side, like when you're going around people, or like if you stop and use the porta potty or something. I think there's just these little things that get you off.
Yeah.
Because I even tried to like cheat the system. I was like, what if I just hug like the inside of the
right side,
road, like the whole whatever way we're turning, I'm going to get on the inside line, and it didn't change anything
not at
for
all.
me. Yeah,
not at all.
But so we did that first one. I think Pasvar finished in like 6.5 hours, so I was only slightly before that. But the course was up.
Yeah.
And but they were cool enough to like they kept the people at the finish line, so you still got your medal.
Nice.
But
okay,
they were just like, you're on your own. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And now I've gotten a little faster, and I'm going to do the Fort Worth one next weekend.
I saw that. Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah.
Good luck.
But
good luck.
I don't know. That first one was still the most special.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you feel finishing it?
Man, it was hard because I signed up for it before I started doing comedy festivals. So like beginning of the year, I'm like, let me do a festival. Let me do a marathon. My best friend, right? So we signed up for the December thing, and then I get accepted like 5 comedy festivals. Like I didn't think I'd get all 5 of them.
When did you sign up for the marathon?
Like February of that year, 2023 February.
Oh yeah, so you're thinking this is way down the line. I got plenty of time.
But then now I'm like, I owe 5 weekends on the road, and then I was like, okay, they're all back-to-back weekends. So 6 weekends in a row. I'm just in hotels. Like doing my little long runs, like a lake nearby, like the treadmill or something,
Yeah,
just doing road gigs and then pounding like caniac combos, trying to get carbs and fat. Like it was like not efficient, like.
Yeah, I mean that's brutal. That's well, you said your friend and you did it, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Whose idea was it originally? Yours or theirs?
It was my idea first.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I talked him.
You talked him into it,
but he's way more athletic than I am. Like he had to slow down for me. Like he was,
so you knew he would keep you into it, basically.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And like what kind of athletics did you do before you ran?
I was a basketball team.
Okay.
Freshman B team.
Okay.
So I wasn't
Freshman
too
B team. All right.
Freshman B team. Starting shooting guard though. Let that be known.
All right.
And I played tennis for a little bit.
Okay.
And the intramurals, like,
but tennis is hard. That's a cardio sport.
JV tennis.
Yeah.
Never top level of anything for sports,
Man.
but
well, what was it about the marathon that made you want to run?
people kept talking about how hard it was. Like I was like, it was like, the people were like, oh, it's super hard, and that's the Goggins like hype train
course,
era. I was
course.
like, I want to see how hard this really is, and then I needed I'm a very goal oriented person, so I needed something because running is so fun with goals, because you lift weights. It's like okay, you hit your PR, but you kind of look the same, and it's the days look very similar.
Yeah.
So running was nice.
Weightlifting too. You can be a strong dude who hits the gym all the time, right? And you don't look ripped.
Yeah, you look fat.
A dude will look at you and go, "Whoa, that dude's jacked," but everyone else is like, "Oh, he's a little fat looking." Yeah, what are you talking about? I wish I looked like that guy. Where at least running, I know, okay, I finished these miles. That's an accomplishment, But still, well, you thought. Did you think it was hard after you did it?
It was very hard.
You can be honest.
Oh,
if you just crushed it, you can be honest.
Oh no, dude, I had 550. I mean,
but that's okay. Slow is different than difficult, though.
It was very hard.
Really?
I walked a lot of it. And then there's so many logistics you don't even think about. Because I was based in Atlanta, so I have to travel to Dallas to run the thing. I'm living with my in-laws for a day.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even factor that in. You hadn't moved here yet. Why did you pick the Dallas Marathon?
So I really was sitting at my desk. If I want to be a full-time comedian, it's either Dallas or Houston. I was let me give Dallas a couple weekends, make sure I like this city.
Wow.
And then I did the Houston Festival too, comedy festival. I was I just think Dallas is better, quality of life, because I got a wife. I'm on the road a lot, so it's I want her to be comfortable with our house, So yeah.
Dang, so you flew in for it?
I drove in for it, dude.
How many days before did you get here?
I think 2 days, a day.
That sucks.
It was a quick turn because at the time I was doing all these gigs. I had to just squeeze it in 1 weekend. So
whoa. Yeah, I totally forgot that you had only been here that long. I thought you were living here and decided to do it. That's terrible that you drove all the way here for that marathon.
So no one talks about that. It's running 26 or whatever, but it's you gotta sleep right the night before. You have to run it at 5 a.m. You have to wake up. You have to get there. Park. My in-laws dropped me off, and it was there's so much diet changes, timing wise changes.
Yeah.
So
well, and just sitting in a car. How long is that drive?
12 hours
from Atlanta to Dallas. 12 hours. Man,
I speed through the school zone. So
good for you, man. I've only driven from Texas to Florida once, and I just couldn't remember how long it was. It was a long time ago, but
probably close.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm used to it taking 12 hours just to get from East Texas to West Texas.
Yeah, that's right.
So I forget you can cut across all those states.
Yeah.
Oh wow, man. Well, what mile do you remember the most being difficult?
I think 20.
Yeah,
20. It hits you wow, I have 6 more of this thing.
And this year's course was different. So mile 20 was all uphill.
Oh,
that was that part when you leave the lake and you're going uphill forever, and all the cars are passing in the other lanes.
Yeah. My buddy, so my father-in-law is an ultra marathon runner, 100-mile guy. He's dude, once you hit the lake, it's all adrenaline. You're gonna see the views, but it's if you don't get that adrenaline feeling that he's telling you, it's miserable.
And what none of us accounted for, that was honestly, even though that was my fastest time ever, I felt pretty miserable at that one because it was so humid. Right? Do you remember that? So it's when you got to the lake, you didn't even see the lake. It was just a wall of fog and humidity. And so it's you don't even get the beauty of oh, look at this sunny, beautiful lake. Yeah, it was hot and humid. And I was thinking, man, this is probably going to be my best one yet. Not time-wise, but just I'm going to feel great because I've been doing all this training. And then when December gets, I started training in the summer in the heat. So I was
that's the way.
If I can handle the heat, when this cool gets here, it's going to be great. And no cold weather showed up at all. So I was pretty bummed about that.
What's that saying? Summer miles gives winter smiles.
That's what I was hoping for, but it's nothing happened. So I don't know. It looks like it's going to be cold next weekend. So I'm hoping Fort Worth will be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good for you. You're doing the marathon next weekend?
Yeah.
Good for you, man. That's awesome.
But I don't know what to expect because I wimped out with all the cold weather and the weather changes we've been having. And we were talking we both have careers, we're working all the time. And I just got sick and tired of training at 7 p.m. at night by myself, running through the streets. And then I started getting paranoid, what, if I just collapsed out here, no one would find me till morning.
Yes, or you might get hit by a car.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've been doing everything on the treadmill at the gym.
That's so hard, man. I
don't know if it's going to be harder or easier when I get out there because with the treadmill, the belt's running.
Yeah,
so I don't know if that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Or if the monotony of like yesterday. So I did my run yesterday because I was I don't want to be burnt out for this interview,
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I spent 3 hours on the treadmill.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just it was just boring. But I don't know. We'll see.
Back in Atlanta, I lived in an apartment complex, not the greatest apartment complex, so there's no sidewalks anywhere. I used to run my miles on the tennis court because it was caged off. So I would just run. My Garmin app would have a dot there. It'd be 10 miles, just
Dude, that's brutal.
Two tennis courts width, just running.
That first one that I ran, I thought I was kind of crazy because I would go to this parking garage on rainy days and do the same thing, right?
That's awesome.
And I thought it was nuts because it got to be fun, right? You look at your map after you're done training, and like you said, you just see like 50 lines in the same area, and people are like, "You're insane." I'm like, and like you said, you're all hyped up on Goggins. You're like, "Yeah, maybe I'm crazy."
I'm listening to no music.
Same.
Just thinking, just festering about life,
Because I thought, if I can handle the misery of being alone during the training runs, then the marathon should be a piece of cake mentally, right? Michael Pasvar had me beat, though, because he sent me a video where I don't know how big his garage is, but I guess it's big enough. It's like a 2.5 car, 3 car garage or something.
Okay, Michael.
I don't know, but he was running. He had a path that he made out like in his garage that he was running, and that's how he would do like a 5-mile run.
That's insane.
Yeah, and so he's definitely the craziest one. Tennis court's close though, man. That's pretty.
Yeah. Well, if I had a 3-car garage, I'd be running sprints in that thing too. You know what I mean?
Tennis court's hard though because you never really get up to speed before you turn again,
No, yeah, it was pretty bad. Pretty bad. Well, thankfully, our mile time, we're not really sprinting too much.
I know, but you lie to yourself. You're like, heck yeah, man, 11-minute mile. Here we go.
my wife would call it yard time because I look like a maniac just running in that cage.
Did she come to like stand on the side of the road while you were running? Or
No, she did not.
Okay,
she did not.
Yeah.
It's a hassle for visitors. Like they got to park too and find a good spot.
My wife is such a good woman about that stuff. Like, granted, we live in East Dallas, so she is.
That's nice.
She is 3 minutes from a lot of the course.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Yeah.
But the very first one, like her and her friend, and this was the one I was obviously very, very slow on. They just made it like a whole day. So she ended up seeing me at maybe 4 or 5 different spots of the marathon, which was really nice of her. And I was like, "So were y'all just driving around?" She's like, "No." She's like, "We had time. Like we saw you on the first one." Then we went and got some brunch. And then we saw you at the second stop. And then we like went to a store.
Yeah.
And I was like, awesome. Oh yeah, I guess I'm not like, I'm not really killing this. Like, but I don't know. That one was still special. Did it feel like a nice special accomplishment to you when you got that medal?
You think about how much time goes into it. Like I was doing gigs in like Des Moines, Iowa. Like, and it's like now I'm running on Sundays every single Sunday for the long run. Just like weeks of just like committing to not drinking the night before, just like staying on track. So yeah, it was nice. It was nice.
I realized how much my body, just with age, is turning on me because if I drink on like a Thursday, I'd feel it on a Sunday.
I stopped drinking for that reason. Yeah, because like you have shows like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's like I can't be risking hangovers or anything like that. So
wow. Dang, so you ran a marathon and then that sealed the deal. You're like, I'm coming to Texas now, coming back to Dallas.
Yeah, and honestly, the festivals, man. I did the Plano Festival, got Best of the Fest, and like...
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks,
I didn't know
man.
that.
I did it for 2 years, got Best of the Fest, and it's just a good fit. Like, I was like, it's just like they like clean comedy, and like, I'm a verbatim kind of comic. Atlanta's more like conversational,
Right.
And it's like, I was like, oh, this makes the most sense. And then Houston's great, just only like 2 or 3 clubs down there. And
Houston blows my mind that it's not a bigger comedy scene because they have the comics.
They have the comics.
It's
strong.
a giant city. Did you know that Houston, as a whole, Houston is the most diverse city in America?
Yeah, I was born and raised there.
That's what I'm saying. More than New York, and you're thinking they should have like 12 clubs. And so I don't know who is not. There's got to be people interested in starting the clubs that just don't have the money.
Yeah.
But somebody needs to be an investor and start opening up a few because they have the numbers down there.
At least the chains, like the Heliums or the Zany.
Especially now that, Rogan and them have taken over Austin, and you just have this great pipeline between, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston. Just get it all on the map where somebody can come in and just make a big run.
Yeah, no state tax either. Like, guys, we can make this happen, man.
Yeah.
I had this theory about the Houston thing. It's like, I think Houston's more of like a music city. Like they just prefer like rap or country, whatever it may be. But it's like as far as like arts as like comedy goes, there's so much for like fun things to do in Houston. That'd be my guess.
Maybe, or maybe they just don't know that comedy is an option of something to go watch because there's not a big club to say come check this out.
Yeah, there's the Riot Comedy Club down there, but it's like upstairs like a bar.
I've never been there, but somebody explained it's kind of like a mixed venue, right? It's like the Riot and like
Rudyard's.
Yes,
Rudyard's is the first floor and the Riot is the second.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So that's where the festival's based out of, the one I did.
So what's the lower level, dude? A little bit of everything, or
a bar? It's just a regular bar. Yeah.
Okay. So no stage down there.
No stage down there. No.
Gotcha. So it's a bar down low. You go up top for stage.
Yeah. But the whole room, like I did it like a couple years ago when it wasn't like a comedy club yet. So it was like just bar and like a bar stage, Yeah. But they revamped it. They have like 4K cameras now. Like,
did you get to work with? Well, how long ago were you doing comedy down there?
3 years ago. I just did like a regular showcase thing. Nothing crazy.
Okay. So are you mixing in with the people in that scene very well?
A little bit. Yeah. We did the festival together.
Did you meet Grady Pruitt?
I did not. He's before my time. I think he's like in New York now.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
That's like the previous generation. Like,
Gotcha. Yeah. That's the thing I've learned here in Dallas that's real interesting is just how these new classes come in every year.
Yeah.
This new generation of new comics, hungry, ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my favorite, man. Yeah, so I was born in Houston. I watched a guy named Victor Tran. I think he's Grady's friend. And then Victor's the reason why I started comedy.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I've ever met him in person, but like, we've been like little pen pals or whatever.
Just
but
Tran and Tran.
Yeah.
Wow.
I watched Andrew Schultz in like 2018, like at the Improv or something, and Victor was hosting, and then Victor murdered. Like he was doing great jokes about like not being Asian either. It's like observational humor.
Yeah.
And that was like my first time. I was like, oh, you could be a funny Asian guy without making fun of Asian people.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of why I kind of tailor my style towards. I try not to do too many Asian jokes.
What's the stereotypical Asian jokes that go around?
Can't drive or like
Sure.
Yeah.
But like the comics, what do they lean on the most? I'll give you an example
Please.
of like the thing that gets me with any type of like brown Middle Eastern comic. The amount of times I've heard I'm 7-Eleven, not 9/11, like that kind of joke. Where you're just yeah, and it's like we always go to the airport security check. You know, there's always those jokes.
Yeah.
What's the stereotypical? I'm an Asian comic, so I'm going to talk about that. This thing.
Oh, it's
So
always
we said bad driving. What else?
Oh, it's always the grades. Like getting
Yeah.
A's, B's, C's is like I'm a C kind of Asian. Like I'm a D kind of Asian. It's like, oh God, like and then when you start hearing the premise of it, you're like, oh, you have to wait for all A through F now. So it's like the worst 3 minutes I heard in my life. You know,
and that's that stuff like it kills for a crowd where that's the first time they've really started watching comedy.
Yes,
it does so well.
Yes,
you know, because I'm shitting on the 7-Eleven, 9/11 joke. But I also can't tell you how many shows I've been sitting there where the crowd's like,
murders, man.
Yeah, and you're just sitting there like, I'm so sick of hearing that joke. And like, who originally wrote it? Because I've heard all of you say it.
Right. Yeah.
But
you'll make more money selling hot dogs than like sushi. You know, it's like if you're opening a restaurant, you'll make way more money selling hot dogs.
So that's another Asian joke, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But I guess growing up, I saw like Russell Peters do like the Asian stuff. You know, I'm like, oh, it's like phenomenal. He murders, but it's like I guess that's the only way you're gonna make a living doing this. And then Victor Tran's the one that kind of proved it wrong and got hooked on it.
You know, I get it. Like, if you're anybody starting in comedy, you're going to go with what you know, right?
Of course.
And that's your life experience. You're going to pull from it, and those are probably a lot of the jokes you've been telling with your buddies, and you know. But I do love when anybody from any race, any culture, they just transcend that, and now it's just the secondary thing, you know, where you're like, oh, this is a funny comic, and we didn't talk about race or anything.
Exactly. Shane Wang's a good example of that.
Yes. What's he doing these days? He like popped hard for a minute, but now I really don't know where
he's still selling out on the road, doing great. Yeah.
I get worried like. It's like with the all the social media stuff. It's like sometimes you think people are blowing up and they're not.
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's super funny dude.
He's making a good living. Clean guy. My aunt actually works with his sister at like the hospital in Houston.
So how many times are you like texting like, hey?
Yeah. She's like, whenever you're ready, you send that tape, brother. Like I'm ready, man. You let me know.
What's your philosophy on that kind of etiquette? Like, are you just waiting and then you'll try to get that hookup eventually, like through that, or do you just go, no, I'm never gonna mess with it?
I'll be honest, the latter. Like, I don't really ask for favors too much. It's I don't really cold like. You know, some comics like cold reach out to bookers. They're like, hey, here's my tape. Like, I'd love to do like a guest spot on your weekend. I try to go where like I'm wanted. Like, it's like it's maybe someone vouches for me, or if there's like an open submission, like a contest. I try to do those things, but it's like I know it's gonna hurt my career in the long run if I don't like ask for spots.
What's the concern? Why wouldn't you do it? What tells you no, I'm not going to do that? I
see myself as like a beggar if I do that, and it's like because I've done favors for other comics. Like they ask me, yo, let me just open for you, but it's like I always see them as the opener that asks for a spot now, you know. And God forbid I have a rough set as a guy that asks for a spot too.
Yeah, I hear you. But in terms of like reaching out to the bookers, what about that? That's different than a favor.
Yeah, it's
Isn't that showing, you know, I'm a go-getter, I have ambition.
Proactive.
I mean,
I've had enough luck where like bookers reach out to me so far in my 6 months here, but I think like when the well kind of dries up, I'll probably start being more proactive. But at least now I'm working every weekend. That's all I really want.
That's
and
good.
It's like then other bookers will take notice of that, and like when they want me, it'll be like for like a feature set instead of like a guest spot or a host set, you know.
Yeah.
So
well, what is your personal like? What's your sweet spot of time right now? How much time do you really love to do?
I love 15 to 20. Like you can wake me up middle of the night, like you know, make these people laugh for 15 minutes, and like you know, like that Kessler set was probably my 15. That's
okay,
like, with the beats and all that.
It was a good 15.
Thanks, man.
Well, because I think I'd messaged you. I was like, oh man, I see you're on the show. Excited to check it out. Just because I see people's names popping around. I'm like, okay, they're on the list. I got to go watch them. You know. But and I can say this now that we know you performed well, but I'm always nervous. Yeah, because you just don't know if someone's just not that funny, and people are being good friends and hyping them up, or if I'm going to catch you on just a really bad night.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so I was so happy. I was like, man, he came out as an opener in this odd room with a crowd that, we're over here in South Dallas where not a lot of comedy shows. So it's like, I don't know how this crowd's going to react to comedy tonight in this venue that doesn't normally do comedy. But yeah, I thought the whole show went well, man. It was great.
Yeah. But that's why I don't ask for spots, really. It's like, I just want, and also I'm kind of saving my favors to like when I'm like a headliner. It's like, then it's the first time I'm going to ask for something, and it's like, it'll mean more. It's like, oh, Danny never asked for anything, so let's.
It'll be interesting because, this is you 4.5 years in, you said, right? It'll be interesting to see if your philosophy changes like 8 years in.
Trust me, comics 8 years in are like, just ask, dude. Like, just please ask for spots.
Or maybe you'll be like, I'm so happy I never asked for anything.
Maybe.
It was better. It all worked out.
We'll do episode 4,000 or whatever.
Yeah. It'll just be fun to see how it goes because that is like, you don't want to be annoying and a burden and like, oh, here's Danny shooting me another message, but you also don't want things to pass you by. So it's a weird dynamic. And like what I've learned already, just comics, bookers, people who produce shows, it all becomes so kind of high school and political, and you never know who's just having a bad day, and if your message hits them at the wrong time, they're like, I'm so sick of dealing with this guy. I'm never working with Danny ever again. How dare he message me at 3 p.m. on Sunday? I don't know. I don't know, but it's weird, man. There's a lot of strong, unique personalities out here.
It could be how I'm raised, too. Like, there's a
how so?
Asian stereotype where it's like, you kind of just want to be like, I'm harmless, I don't want to cause no trouble. Like, my mom worked the same job for 20 years, No promotion.
Yeah.
Same, and like every time I ask her, she's like, just don't cause trouble. Just do a good job and go home, So
yeah.
It could be just like instilled in me.
Well, that's like what is it? It's like Japanese. They have like a lot of those contradictory beliefs though, where it's like the head of the nail that sticks out is the one that gets hammered.
Oh yeah.
But also the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yep.
Like that kind of. So it's like, well, which one?
Yeah,
am I speaking up or am I shutting up? What are we doing here?
Just hitting door handles now. It's,
yeah. So who knows? I've always been one where it just. Actually, I don't know how I act with that stuff.
It's tough because
it really depends on the person that I want something from. If I'm like,
true,
maybe not,
And a lot of times you see comics like get things like they get them before you, and you're like, maybe I should have asked. Like there's a counterpoint there, but then
so that and that's why I was kind of talking about it with you because some of the comics that I know they'll produce shows and they'll tell me, no, I just didn't even know that person was interested in this. They're like, I have so much going on with my life, with my stuff. It never crossed my mind to reach out that they might want to do that.
Yeah.
So
I'll keep an ear out, but I don't know. A lot of there's like a lot of strategies.
I'm not telling you either way is right. I just like hearing everybody's kind of version of it.
Yeah, I've seen the strategy, like people my experience level, they run their own shows and they kind of trade spots with people. Like, hey, you book me in your show, I'll book you in my show. I never ran a show before, so it's like.
I think the whole trading is weird because I used to play music and we would try to do that. Like I'll come play in your town, you play in my town. And it was fun if both bands were about the same skill level in terms of, they just wrote good. They had good songs that the audience liked, right?
Yeah.
And but then also if they would reciprocate, like, I'm going to put you on a good show, right? So like if we brought you in, it was like we're going to make sure there's a couple hundred people there.
Yeah.
You're going to get paid, and hopefully you sell some merchandise, and it's a good show. But then it was always dreaded, like, man, are we going to come play in front of 30 people, lose money, and they're going to be like, all right, so we're cool, right?
Yeah,
like, I guess we're cool. I guess so. That's all
tough, man.
Yeah.
And plus, I'm not born here, so like I don't have that bringer show. Like, if I were to put a show on, I don't have like, my high school friends I can like call a favor, and like
the bringer show, man. That's still something I can't decide if I love or hate.
It's okay. So I'll tell you what. I did the Dallas comedy competition. I made the finals for that, but I had to do 3 rounds. Each round you got to bring 3 people, just to like. It's like recommended to bring 3 people, just like formality and stuff. I had to bring my wife and my in-laws every single round. I'm like, that's all I know.
Shout out to the wife and in-laws. Y'all are nice people.
Yeah, thank goodness for them, man. Like it just.
I mean, I get it. They want to sell tickets, drinks, whatever, make a little money.
Time. Yeah,
I get it. But
plus the shows are amazing. The shows are, everyone brought 3. It's like, it's a good show, It's a business, but it's stressful for a guy like me that just moved to a city that knows nobody.
Well, I guess it makes more sense on a festival too. Like everybody's just trying to make it work, or a competition rather.
Yeah.
But I mean like a true bringer show where they're like, if you want to be on, I need you to bring 5 people.
Right. Is that the criteria? Like it's not merit based anymore. It's just who has 5 friends.
I know the producers work hard to book shows and get things going, but isn't that a big part of being the producer?
Right,
bringing a crowd for the comics. Otherwise, I mean, Can't the comics just set up a show for themselves and try to figure it out?
Yeah,
But
that's a good point.
I know I'm not expecting you to say a whole lot about that because you're trying to get booked on shows.
I'm always a company man. I always say yes to gigs that come my way. I'll be honest. Yeah, I'm always like hosting an open mic. It don't matter to me. Like I'll do whatever helps the club out, But yeah.
But right now you're loving that 15 to 20 minute kind of feature length spot, huh?
Love it. I'm trying to get to 30. That's my goal this year. I just want 30 minutes of like bulletproof material that works in any room, So I'm trying to turn over material quicker.
Are you excuse me, have you got to meet any of the people working like kind of the more standard clubs in the area, like the bigger clubs like like Hyenas, Improv, those things, to start getting in a rotation with them? Because you have a killer 15 to 20 and like you said, it's clean.
Yeah.
And you seem intelligent enough to get through there, like, when they're like, our drink specials or whatever they make you do. Like, but are you getting it? How are you going to try to dive into that world, or are you even concerned about it?
I'm not too concerned. I think word gets around, like vouching for people is the best way to get in. But I've done a show at the Improv. I had a good set, met the owner or whatever, and it was like, it was good. But I've never been in Hyenas because I don't want to just like reach out like, yo, let me please get a guest spot this weekend, I may change like a year, we'll see what happens, but I'm happy where I'm at.
Your approach seems good. You seem very low stress.
Dude, honestly,
it's got to be because of that approach.
Yeah, in show business, I mean, it's like there's only so many things you can control, Like you don't know who's dating who, you don't know who's like running what. It's like I just write every day for an hour and then try to do the best I am, like what shows are given, and then hopefully that gets me other spots,
That's like the hardest thing to try to communicate with people is like any artistic endeavor anyway. So much is out of your hands.
Everything's out of your hands.
You can't control what people love and decide they want to share with others. You can only control, like, do I enjoy the set that I perform, right?
Right, yeah.
And because I'll talk to some comics who want to, they want to like record something and release something, and they're like, man, if I just release this, like my career's going to take off. And it's like, I don't know.
It will not.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think you're a bad comic. I just think that's a terrible plan. I think you should be trying to just see how you can get your career to move forward. And then if you feel like recording something because the material is perfect, you should record it. But if you're saying like, this is going to elevate me, it's like, I don't know, man. We might put a lot of time and effort and it gets 300 views. Right. And it's not because it's good or bad. It's just it didn't catch fire. The algorithms didn't, you didn't get any good luck. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. Sometimes you might just annoy certain bookers for no reason. Like, it's like, there's people that hate LeBron James. The dude married his high school sweetheart, like never been caught up with a speeding ticket,
Dude, okay, so you're into basketball?
I love basketball, yeah.
I have turned into such a hater that I think I'm going to start doing a monthly episode where I just talk about things I'm not a fan of.
Yeah,
I was joking, but I really just like playful hating where it's stuff that doesn't even matter because I have become such a hater of Angel Reese.
WNBA. Yeah.
And it's like, I know nothing about her, nothing about the WNBA. I just love to watch highlight reels of her bricking it and rebounding it over and over and over.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a lot of just like layup line misses. I'm like, man, this is great.
And you're just like, and it's so easy. Like, I don't know. Maybe she worked super hard to get there. I don't know what's going on. But when you just see someone full sprint and do a jump stop layup and miss it wide open, you're like, whoo. Yeah. Hard not to hate on this right now.
And I don't watch enough to where it's like to counteract it. But yeah, like she plays so much basketball, there's gonna be a lot of lowlights,
Sure.
But yeah, the
same with LeBron. It's easy to hate on LeBron if you just watch the lowlights,
like air balls and all that. But
of course, yeah. Like you said, how many seasons has he played?
20.
Okay, you're gonna have some bad shots.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but Angel. Yeah, I would love to see that episode of the Not a Fan podcast. That's funny.
I think what I'm gonna do is let people come on here, complain about 4 or 5 topics, really be a hater about something. But I think the key is gonna be, we're not gonna do politics. We're not gonna do real serious things like. Tell me something that's really dumb that you absolutely hate on nonstop, things that like cripple you for a moment.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. When I see those low light, it's like always a funny music behind the low light video too. It's always like bricks and all my.
I've been watching somebody on Instagram. I don't remember their account, but it comes up now because I've liked it so much. And he's just devoted himself to the lowlights. But he's announcing it. So like every time he's announcing it like it's incredible, and every time she bricks, he's like, "Bam! Another one!"
That's awesome.
And now I've got like a buddy. Neither of us watch the WNBA. I do not care.
I know. Yeah.
And I'm texting him horrible, highlight reels of Angel Reese, and we're both talking shit, and it's like, why do we care?
I know.
Why do we care about this? And then with the with the Super Bowl that just happened, it's like now I'm all wrapped up in this Kendrick Drake beef. And I don't care about this at all.
I know. I had to get off that stuff, man. Like I just couldn't get off my phone. It's bad.
That song. Never listened to it. I saw like a clip or two just when he was talking about there was some concert he did where Kendrick's wearing like an orange hoodie and everybody chanted that A minor line for the first time.
Yeah.
And so that was maybe the first time I heard the song and I was like, oh, okay. And then it happened with the Super Bowl again. And now I just can't get that. Dun, 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 dun. It's in my head all day. And I'm like,
That's what they want, man.
I know. And I listen to it and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But it's not really like, first of all, it's not for me. Like I'm not this type of hip hop lover. I'm more of like, well, you're talking about Atlanta. I'm Outkast all day.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Love Outkast.
Yeah.
That is my kind of hip hop that I love,
awesome,
man.
yeah.
And it's like this new generation of hip hop, not for me, and that's fine. That's fine. Everybody
Yeah.
else loves it. That's cool. But it's like I listen to it, and I never have any desire to listen to it. But it's been stuck in my head for like a week straight now.
You had to lead off your phone, man. The Instagram stuff. It's just spoon feeding you this stuff, and
Yeah, I know. But also, when it does come on, and someone's doing a hot take, I'm like, let me see what they got to say about it.
yeah. There's so many takes on it. I'm like, dude, I don't care. Take it out. I don't need this.
That's my favorite is when they're trying to break it down, where they're like, actually, there was all this symbolism and these deeper meanings. Like, I don't know, man. I think a rapper just wanted to show another rapper that he could do that on another level and insult him. I don't know that there was all this like, he's calling out the Illuminati. That's what his pants meant. It's like, okay. All right, man.
It's crazy. There's like grown men that go home to their wives, like, let me record my breakdown video real quick. The world's got to know my points on this. Like, it's crazy.
And they're serious. What's worse though is someone is doing that so well and they're making a lot of money and you and me are still going to work every day like a chum.
Every time I see an Asian comedian do the accent and go viral, I'm like, I'm going to do the act. Like,
yeah, you're like, here we go. Where can I get some ridiculously large teeth, right?
Right,
like,
yeah. I'm going to have the breakdown, dude. This is crazy. Yeah, I always question like what's right, but
maybe that's what you do. You just start rage reacting to Asian videos.
There's a market there.
Maybe that's what you do.
There's a market. Let me borrow the studio.
I put on an episode of Shark Tank while I was like eating a sandwich or something, just to have something on TV. And this woman comes on, and the Stanley Cups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's like, first of all, there's always that type of like 30-something-year-old Shark Tank entrepreneur or female who's like, "Hi, sharks," and she's got that tone and everything. And she's like, "I realize my Stanley's missing something," And then she pulls out her thing, and it's like gadgets that attach to your Stanley Cup. So it's like a keychain holder, and then it's like a little pouch you can put things in, and like a little cap. And I'm thinking, oh, they're going to tear her apart, right? And then I'm the idiot because they're like, well, what are your sales like? Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, the first year we had like 80,000. Mm-hmm. The second year was like 200,000. And now we're in year 4 and we had 6 million. Yeah. And you're like, Jesus. I'm about ready to just love the sharks hating on you. I'm going to hate on you with them. And then you have 6 million in sales. And I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
And I'm still waking up at 5 a.m. going to work.
The car sticker business, like car decals, lucrative amount of money. It's like, yeah, you have to lean into it,
What do you think is the dumbest thing like that you've ever had an idea where you're like, I should maybe try it? Because that's really what you should be doing right now, probably.
For comedy-wise, what's the dumbest thing?
What is the dumbest idea you think you've ever had where you're like, maybe I'll start a business or something?
The dumbest... This is I had an idea where I would be a traveling personal trainer for comedians, but just let me open for you and I'll give you a free training session.
Okay. All right.
There's no money in I lose hundreds of dollars every single weekend, but...
Specifically for comedians is very interesting.
Because all I wanted was stage time. I was like, let me feature for you. I'll give you a 20-minute workout. You give me 20 minutes stage time. And then we'll trade 1 for 1,
Did you ever try it?
No, I didn't bother reaching out. Most comics are like, no, I have my feature act. I don't need something.
Yeah, and they're also like, and I got into this business because I don't want to work out.
Exactly, yeah. I remember pitching the idea. It was terrible.
Well, I started sponsoring people who want to run the marathons. So I'm trying to do a couple each year. So I did one this year for Dallas, and I have 2 people in the Fort Worth one, and I want to kind of keep. And the whole idea is like, look, I'll just pay your entry fee, wear a jersey, and
cool.
What I was hoping though is, since me and Michael Pazvar ran the first one, I was thinking, oh, this would be great. I'll find some comics who are thinking, I want to get in shape, I want to do something. You can do the half or the full. I was thinking these are funny people. They'll want content and everything, and. Yeah, the majority of the comics are like, I never want to do that. I'm not interested in that at all.
Yeah.
There's this guy, Mikey B. He just put out a hour-long special called Honorable Scumbag. Please go watch it. But he's a super funny guy, but he's always had a weight issue. He openly talks about his health and his weight, and he survived a heart attack recently. Oh, wow. And talks about it all in his act, and he's just very open about it all. But he's always talking about, wanting to get back to losing weight, exercising, keeping in shape. And so after a special came out where he talks about his weight issues and heart attacks and all that, I was like, hey, man, if you're actually interested in it, I was like, if you started training now, I would be thrilled to sponsor you for like next year's Dallas Marathon.
Wow.
I was like, I'd pay for it, and like maybe you could get some fun content and like get yourself healthy. I was like, really want you telling jokes for like a long time. You know, let's.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it sounds like something I'll never ever do. I was like, all right, cool, never mind. So now now I'm sponsoring just kind of like, I guess, random people who want to run. So
what's your finish rate? Like you sponsored 3 people. How many? What's the convert? Are you scouting these guys beforehand or
no.
like?
Well, right now it's not going well.
Okay, right on. That's what I figured. I'm like,
the first person that I sponsored for the Dallas Marathon, the one you and I did, Kevin DeAnda. Are you familiar with him?
yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Okay, he was my first athlete that I sponsored.
Nice.
He wrote an article, I'll find it and send it to you, about how he not only did not finish, but he was the last person in the marathon.
Oh my gosh.
So
you pick winners, huh? You really your scouting process.
I thought I don't want to pick people who are great at running. I want to pick people who want to achieve
you
something.
want a comeback story? You want like yeah.
I just remember my journey of being like fat, out of shape, not doing anything. Like, let's find people like that who are like,
yeah,
I'm going to take 4, 5, 6 months and get into this, and all I care is that I just want you to start first of all.
All right.
But it's like, yeah, I hope you finish. But I mainly want you to just get there and try it out.
Yeah.
But he had a rough time. He wrote a whole article about it.
Nice.
I finally saw him in person the other day because I wasn't sure how he handled it because it was kind of brutal, I think, to his psyche.
Because I don't know about you, like if I didn't finish it, I'd have to redo it to finish it.
He has already signed up for another one.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
He made it to mile 20 and then he just couldn't.
Yeah.
And they were like, the way he says it, like somebody like a police officer literally pulled up and they're like, "You're the last one. Do you want us to drive you to the finish line and you can walk across?"
Wow.
And I think he just ended there. I don't even really know how he got back to his car and got home. I still didn't feel comfortable asking him that. And I was like texting him. I was like, "Where are you at? How's it? Do you need me to come pick you up or something?"
Yeah.
He's like, "I just want to be by myself." I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
It hit him hard apparently.
Yeah.
So that I'm 0 for 1 on my sponsors. So for the Fort Worth one, I'm actually pretty excited. There's a lady named Kaylee Broussard. She was just a random person who's like, "Hey, I heard you're looking for people. I want to do the half." I was like, "All right." And she hosts an open mic in Fort Worth.
Okay.
But I was like, "Well, do you do comedy? Let me come check out your show." And she's like, "I really kind of just host this." I was like, "Okay." So I'll probably meet her for the first time at the
marathon.
Yeah, she's going to do the half.
Nice.
Well, what I'm really excited about is my 69-year-old father
Wow.
said he's going to do the half.
That's awesome.
Now he's just going to walk it. His goal is just to walk and finish.
Yeah.
But he's never done anything like this before. And I gave
That's
him
so cool.
I gave him a training plan like back in the summer because he's like, "I think I want to do something like this."
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right." I was like, "Well, first of all, like, are you medically cleared? Like, did you,
Yeah, right.
I can't kill my father."
0 for 2.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, "No, the doctor said I'm good. Heart's
Wow.
good." Blood. I was like, "Okay." And
Good for you, man.
I thought for sure because he was looking for ways to get out of it early on. I thought for sure he was going to bail on me by now. That he was going to be like, "Well,
Good for you,
I don't
dude.
know." So I don't think I'll be able to do it. But my biggest goal now is if I could finish the full marathon in Fort Worth in time, either at the same time as him when he's finishing the half.
Oh, wow.
Because he's walking it.
So like 5 hours for the walk? Like, you know what I mean?
I think so, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know how he's going to do with uphills. So maybe he slows down like 5.5.
Yeah,
yeah. Because they say they close the half marathon course.
Like probably 3.5.
Yeah, but I mean the finish line for the full and the half are the same. Are you really going to shut it all down?
I
don't
see
know
what you're
how that
saying.
works.
I see what you're saying.
Surely they'll let a 69-year-old man just keep walking, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But that would be my dream is if I was either right behind him as he's finishing so I could see him up there.
That's sick, yeah.
Or if we somehow, like, if I caught up to him and him and I would forget about my time and be like, "Let's just walk it. Let's just finish
really
it."
cool. That's really cool, yeah.
That'd be super fun. So we'll see how it goes. Or, he could have a heart attack and I could regret this whole decision.
You're a lot of pressure on Kaylee Broussard right now.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Come on, Kaylee.
Yeah, start sprinting. My dad's 72. I can't imagine him doing a half marathon walking it. So
I mean, is he a healthy 72?
no, he is a 5K 72 at best. He's
Gotcha.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I was pretty surprised. My dad is not a pillar of health, and he drank so much beer for his whole life. He drank so much.
It's great. So my dad did the same, but there was like no non-carb beers growing up.
Yeah.
Like there's no
Yeah.
like White Claws or no, like he was just drinking like Bud Fools, like
my
Bud
gosh.
Heavies, It was crazy.
What and like I don't know about your dad, but it's like I own a house now, so I'll do home projects. Like if something comes up, it's like, okay, I'll figure that out. I'll watch YouTube. Do this. Our generation of parents, it's like they were like doing all that stuff without YouTube and Google. And it's
crazy.
like, how did you know how to frame a wall?
Yeah.
Who told you? I had to watch 15 videos and decide if this person was trustworthy.
Yeah.
It's like, how did y'all just know all of this skill? And you were half drunk all the time.
Yeah.
I don't get it. He built my parents when they were close to divorce. We didn't know this as kids, obviously, but we lived on we lived on like a tiny little bit of land. So we had this small house that we were living in, and he was going to build a bigger house behind that house on the same lot, and then we were going to tear it on the front house, right?
Okay.
So, and he was doing this like my mom was like a secretary, and he's like a high school janitor, right? So
Wow.
it's not like he had a bunch of money or he ran a construction company or something.
Yeah.
So he like got a concrete slab poured in the back, and then he started building everything else. And it was a 2-story home. Okay, so he literally like framed all of this by himself.
Wow.
Put a roof on. He did all the electrical, all the plumbing.
What?
And they were nearing a divorce. So when they divorced, all the work stopped, and the home was never finished. But it's like, I don't understand how he built all of that by himself. Maybe just had a buddy come over every now and then when the wall was heavy or something, you know? And I'll always remember this moment because I guess they were fighting, but when you're young, you didn't realize it. And he was like out there. He's on the second story of the house. It's nighttime. He's got like some lights strung up. He's like putting in interior walls. So he's got music going. He's drinking beer. He's got like a hammer, just hammering nails in. And I go inside to like get a juice box or something. I don't know. And my mom's like, hey, he's been drinking and he's using the hammer and nail. She's like, you need to be careful around him right now. I was like, okay, just, don't get hit with a hammer, basically.
Right.
And I go back out there, and you're a naive kid, so you're like, Mom said I need to be careful because you've been drinking and using the hammer and stuff. He goes, drinking? Hell, I've been drunk for like 2 hours.
That's awesome.
But I'll never forget that moment because it's like, man, he was drinking beer, just going crazy. But then I remember later on going back and looking at it when I was old enough. Like they were divorced, they all got remarried, but that house is still sitting there unfinished.
Wow.
Someone tried to knock it down with a tractor, and they couldn't knock it down.
Wow.
He built it that robust, like it's
when you're drunk, you send a 20-year
I'm
nail,
telling
like
you,
extra
he's like,
nails.
maybe an extra board, right?
That's awesome.
But I remember, we like snuck back in. I was looking at it, and because I think my mom still owns the lot of land that it's on. They just moved somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like in a nice area. It's cheap. But I remember thinking like, if I tried to build this sober right now,
Oh, no way.
no way. Like I don't know how that generation of men just
Yeah.
knew how to do those things.
Even the planning, like
Yeah.
electrical, like space out like studs a certain amount.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you do that when you're drunk? Like you can't even hold a pencil.
No.
Yeah.
Or like just where like I remember talking to him one time. I was like, hey, I think I need to build a wall. And I was asking him. He's like, yeah. So you want to do it 16 on center? I was like, what?
What? Yeah, yeah.
He's like, you want the studs every 16 on center?
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, that's how you do it. Like, he looks like
crazy.
I didn't know that was common knowledge. So,
I'm not a handyman either.
Yeah,
so my buddy was finding studs with like just pounding it on the wall. He find it that way.
yeah,
I'm like,
he's doing the knock test.
dude, I'm buying like little robots. Like I'm just drilling holes, like trying to find resistance, trying to mount this picture up on the wall.
Are y'all in like are y'all renting a house or an apartment, or y'all
No,
own
we have a
something?
house. We have a
Okay,
house.
so
Yeah,
it's your
yeah.
house, right?
Yeah, yeah. In 30 years, but yes.
Yeah, but then it becomes more stressful because you're like, I'm like medium to light handy.
Oh yeah.
So if I put this big hole in the wall,
Oh yeah.
I have to call a real man to come tell me how to fix it.
Yeah. And I'm gone all the time, so it's like
Yeah.
you gotta hope the guy does it remotely. You gotta hope, trust.
We had a crash course because a condo we lived in, the roof came off in a storm,
Oh wow.
and half the condo got flooded because the roof came off, then it rained, and it was a whole thing. And so we had like this crash course on dealing with like bad contractors because it was our fault. We hired them. We just didn't know what a good or a bad one was.
Yes, yeah.
And that's where we kind of learned our lesson, and that's where we dipped into like, we could figure out a lot of this stuff on our own.
That's
instead
where
of
I'm
trying
at.
to pay people.
That's where I'm at.
And it's like, at least if it looks a little crappy, at least I didn't pay someone like thousands of dollars for it to look crappy.
Seriously,
at least
yeah.
it was my own effort.
It goes back to what we said about the service nowadays. Like, there's no passion behind service people give. It's like a lot of corner cutters, like
Yeah,
I cut my own grass for that reason.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, because like I was about to pay a guy because I'm gone all the time, but they're like, we have to show up here every 2 weeks. Regardless if the grass is long or not, every 2 weeks we got to be
Also, like
here.
in the winter right now when it's not growing, they want to swing by.
I haven't cut my grass in 2 months. Like, it's like, these people, they're talking to me crazy. Like, I changed my own oil, It's
Yeah.
like, because
Yeah.
they charge like $120 for an oil change now. I was like, dude, I'm going to jack my car up myself.
And again, I think I'm just getting old and paranoid, but now I'm like, I don't think they've been changing this oil filter.
Yes.
I think they're just dumping the new oil in, and I've been
Yes.
running on the same filter for 80,000 miles.
Yeah. My buddy used to work at like a Jiffy Lube or something.
Yeah.
He said, dude, we get in cars. I don't look for a jack point. I start jacking up the car until I hear something break. And like, I just do it. I'm like, yeah.
Well, like when I was their age of the guys working at those places,
Yes.
you're thinking like, those are all right dudes, man. They're all right. They're like me.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, yeah, but I was an idiot.
I was an idiot.
I was an idiot.
an
It's like,
idiot,
I'm not sure I'm not an idiot now, but I at least know I was an idiot then.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, well, why would they care about my stuff?
would
They're
they-
getting paid the same amount either way.
Yes.
The amount of jerks they deal with coming through here, they think I'm just another jerk, and I might be just another jerk. So, I was like, I got to, because growing up, I always did all those things. Like I always changed the oil. And
Oh,
did
good
that.
for you.
Well, my dad, he's that manly, handy man,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So he had a garage full of tools.
Yeah.
When I started paying people to change my oil was when I lived in an apartment complex. And it's like, well,
It's tough there. Yeah.
it's not like I can just, they have like rules. You can't just change your oil in the parking lot. You
Yeah.
know? And so I was like, well, okay, I'll have them do it. But now that we got a house again, it's like, there's no excuse. I got to do all this stuff myself. But yeah, it's frustrating because there are days where you're driving by and you're like, I should just pay them. I should just pay them to do it.
Jacking up your car is very scary because I've never done that before.
It's super scary.
So I bought like this.
What kind of car is it?
I have an Acura, like a regular sedan.
So you have to jack it up.
I have to jack it up, yeah.
Mhm.
I bought the cheapest jack, try to save some money,
That's the first of all, Danny, before you move on, if you're ever going to crawl under something that weighs thousands of pounds, don't buy the cheapest jack.
I know.
Okay, get a good mid-range jack.
You
At
sound like
least.
my coworkers right now. Yeah, I got the low rate. I got a JV jack right
If
now.
it's something that could crush your head,
yeah.
spend a little money on the jack.
Yeah, it was bad. So I'm using it. It's like one of those jacks where you jack it up and you got to take out the stick and put it in the release valve, right?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know. It didn't come with instructions, so I didn't know you're supposed to like take out the stick. So I'm like, I jack it up. I'm like, I just turn the release valve in my hand. The car smashes down. My wife said, "Did you jack up the house? What was that noise?" It's like, I remember because I had to reach my hand in it. The car stops like an inch from my face.
Oh my God.
My license plate's like in my eyes. So I'm like, it's the craziest thing.
How scary is that, by the way?
Oh, so scared. I jacked up again, sweating bullets. I'm like, I gotta figure this out.
How quickly, or like, first of all, how long did you just stare at the license plate when it's close to your face going, God, that was close?
That was yeah.
And then how long until you looked around to see if any of your neighbors saw what just happened?
Yeah. I'm sure a shingle came off. It was so
Dude.
that noise, and then because I jacked it up, I had to let it go because I bought 6-ton car jacks. It's like I'm gonna support my car. Those are for trucks, man. Like they're not.
So you at least bought the jack stands?
I bought the jack stands,
Thank God.
but the 6-ton is like tall enough for a truck.
That's fine.
No, but it's too tall. for my,
too tall.
Dude,
Oh.
I was cracking.
So
up. I
you
was
can't
like,
get it under there.
I call my car, but I'm like, yo, my car's jacked up. I can't fit this thing under. I'm like wedging it underneath.
Yeah.
And he's like, send me a picture of the car jack. And that jack stand's like
Yeah.
just like fully prompted, And then I had to go to like car shop, Harbor Freight, get like
Yeah.
a new 3-ton car jack.
I'm happy you bought the jack stands, though. I thought you were telling me you were changing your oil just on
Oh,
the jack.
no.
And you're
No,
like,
yeah.
no, I got a nice cheap jack.
no, yeah. Yeah, no, that
That's the stuff, man. It's like, like I said, my dad, he showed me a lot of that stuff. So I had a little bit, ahead of that. But these should be high school courses.
they have to be.
For whoever wants to take it,
They
right?
have
It
to
should
be.
be like, hey, here, we're going to do changing oil.
Yeah.
Like the way like some countries have like mandatory military service. It's like we should have mandatory life skills
Maintenance
classes.
service, yeah.
It should be like those types of things, right? Like, okay, we're going to frame a wall. We're going to change some oil. Here's how you see if your roof has a leak.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, it's like, okay, we're going to talk to you about investing money, credit cards, all the shit they don't tell you about,
The amount of comics I talk about, like their financial literacy, is like out the window.
It's
like,
bad.
There's guys I know like that, like take out money from their 401k to pay for things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, that's like your retirement money. Like,
Well, but in the back of their mind, they're all thinking, comedy's going to take off. I'm going to be making a killing. By the time I'm this age, I won't need it.
Yeah.
And then you never, ever hit reality of that's a small percentage of comics, right?
oh,
It's
so small.
possible, but it's at least a 15-year commitment before you get close.
Dude, the amount of comics I see bragging about like a residual check, you can tell how much they're struggling. This comic is like, dude, every 6 months I get like $800 from the SiriusXM thing.
Which is great, good for you, but hey, that $800. And how long until it stops?
Yeah, you better be on Pandora. You better be on FM 97. You better be on all these things, man.
And they never follow that with like, yeah, so every 6 months I put that $800 into this mutual fund.
Yeah.
I just dollar cost average and get some compound interest, and it's
no.
paying this dividend. Like, it'd be one thing if you were saying that. But yeah. The only one, man, when I was talking to Danny on here, he seems like he surprised me because when you look at him, have you worked with him? Have you got to meet him?
I haven't done a show with them. I've been on open mics.
Okay,
yeah.
so super nice guy,
Yeah,
very
nice
friendly,
guy.
but he comes across. For people who don't know, go listen to his episode. But he's got like long, like Jesus type hair.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks like a hippie dude. He's wearing flip flops and jeans and a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna pin him as just like a stoner kind of burnout looking guy.
Yeah.
And he was talking to me about like he started a drone business with his brother.
Heck yeah.
And he's wanting to live in his car for a little while to save up money to get a business loan and these things. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, you act a lot different than you look, man.
Yeah,
Like
he looks
that-
like he looks like he skateboards everywhere.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
But he's a very put together. Like all the resources are there. Like I wasn't raised. My parents don't know how to buy a stock. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't raised with that stuff. So there's like it's out there if you take the time to look at
Are
it.
your parents first generation American?
Yeah,
Yeah.
They moved over here during the Vietnam War. So
Oh wow. Yeah. So how do you remember how old they were? Did they?
Yeah,
tell you?
they're
I'm
my
sure they
age.
told you the story.
oh, it's like the craziest story
Yeah.
too. Like yeah, but my dad moved here like 23. So
Wow.
1975.
Did he speak any English?
A little bit. They taught him a little bit in Vietnam, but not much.
That's the craziest thing when I hear people who move to America. Those stories are just like broken English or no
crazy.
English, and it's like, and you made it.
It's crazy.
Like if I went to Vietnam, no Vietnamese. I mean, I guess they speak some English over there, but any country where it's like you don't know that dominant language, I don't know if I could pull it off.
Bro, if I went to Vietnam, I'm not making it's crazy, man.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
fluent in Vietnamese too. It's just hard to make it in like a different
Yeah.
country, you know?
Is the war why they decided to come over?
Yeah. My dad was the one that was like, dude, this is like it's all going bad, you know? So
Yeah,
gotta
I mean,
make
for
it
both sides, that's just a terrible war.
Yeah.
But man, that's crazy. So, did you said he was pretty resourceful though, huh?
Yeah, he was like a waiter for a little bit, hustled, and like, I mean, getting over here, it was like you didn't just board Delta Airlines. You had to like find like a way to like sneak across, you know. And all
Was
that
it
stuff.
illegal for him to leave his country at that time?
I don't know. I don't know how.
I have to look that up.
Yeah. I think it was like a free for all situation. Just the
Yeah.
way like they're pulling out troops and stuff, and like
Yeah.
any plane they can get out could get out, you know. So
Yeah.
probably not too
Yeah,
much.
I guess you don't hear stories of like Vietnamese people being like arrested for fleeing. I don't think I've heard anything like
he
that.
did the
ever.
whole like he went to the camp and like did like the visa and all. Like, he did the whole
Oh,
process.
okay.
So it was like it's a long time paperwork kind of thing.
Wow.
So yeah.
No, when you first said it, I was thinking he came as like a refugee of some kind of like I'm just trying to get out of this war.
Oh no. Yeah,
so
yeah.
he okay, good for
Well,
him.
kind of the same sentiment, but it's like a formality way to do it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
guessing.
that's what he was
yeah.
able to come over here with the paperwork.
Yeah. Like if he was running a marathon, he signed up for the marathon. He didn't show up there with his own bib. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
all. You got to bring it back to the marathon. Then I understand. Explain that to me. I'm in the bank. I'm like, so explain this to me in marathon terms, please.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild. So when you were growing up, when do you remember the age where you learned that was kind of their story, like that? They came from another country. Like, do you remember when that was even a discussion as a kid?
Yeah, they hate talking about it, dude.
Really?
Like they really just like keep that bottled up. Like I'm like,
Because a kid won't think about that period. You just think,
Right.
I live here. This is my family.
right. I live in Houston, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm chilling. But it's I learned Vietnamese as a kid. Like Sunday school, I'm like fluent in Vietnamese. I can read and write it, speak it, the whole thing. And then when you learn through that lens, you learn about the Vietnam War too. And I'm asking my parents, like, where'd you line up?
You mean in
with it?
church they were teaching you about it?
It's,
on the Sunday school stuff?
It's a temple. Yeah, it's a temple.
Yeah.
It's like Buddhist teaching,
yeah.
but yeah, it's like the same sentiment. And then it's
okay.
I look at like you learn Vietnamese history, and then I'm like, oh, where'd my parents fall? They were born during this time, you know. So
Oh, so you kind of learned it ancillary and then had to come home and ask questions?
I remember my dad got sick once, and then I had like a podcast at the time, so I was like really in the interviews and like studying that whole thing. And I made like a list of questions for my dad. We talked for like hours, and I took notes on it, and then just have like a whole breakdown on my phone of like every answer, every like turn of the story that happened. You know, it's pretty cool.
You got to record it?
I think I just typed it out, written it out, but
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't audio record or anything.
Man, this little space I have, it goes unused when I'm not recording shows like this. So I tried to set up a little side business because just exactly like what you said, I thought, man, there's all these people who have family members where they don't get to preserve these stories.
Yeah.
And then when they pass away, now you're playing the game of telephone where it's like, well, they told me that story, and I
Right.
think what happened was this, and you lose it. So I was trying to start this thing where it's like, hey, just bring your family member in. I gave some people like a real low rate. I was like, why don't y'all just for like, I don't know, like $100, whatever you want to give me, come in and you can talk to them for like a couple hours.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, this is going to take off. People are going to preserve their stories. So nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do that. But it's like, that's a fascinating story.
It's really cool. Yeah, I'm working on a side project too, like trying to
Yeah.
incorporate Vietnamese into like my comedy more, and it's I'm working on that. But I mean, $100 for a comic, that's weeks, that's months' livelihood right there. So yeah.
Nobody cared. Nobody
Yeah,
was
nobody
interested. And I was like,
cared,
well,
yeah.
all right, some ideas don't work.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
I'm not, I should be selling the Stanley accessories, but
Yeah, that wouldn't be a Shark Tank pitch, right? Yeah, Mark Cuban and his dad aren't gonna.
well, I mean,
run
for
through
me, it
this.
wasn't even about the money. I just thought, what a fun way to preserve these stories that people are gonna.
Yeah.
I think we had somebody I knew, their relatives or something died whenever I was thinking that, and they were like, I don't remember if it was this or that, and I was like, we have all this equipment, we could just be recording these things.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we could bring people in for, like an hour or two once a year, and you could just have this
It's nice.
running thing. I started bringing my son in here. I
Oh, no,
decided
how
I'm
old's
gonna
your
do-
son?
He just turned 5.
Oh wow, that's
So
awesome.
I was like, I want to have these things where I'm talking to him, my wife's talking to him.
Yeah.
And then at the very least, like when we're senile in a nursing home, we can watch that for an hour and come back to senility for a minute.
Documenting is important. I have a vision board for comedy, and I have like a journal entry from like my first open mic from like August 5th, 2020. And it's like me just like get all emotional, like I can't believe I actually did it. I've been watching comedy for years, you know? And I look back to it like when I'm like stressed about like a festival booking or like trying to like, you know, sell tickets or whatever. I'm like, dude, it all started from this. Like it's like stay grounded, you know.
You're
like,
looking at your old stuff, you're like, nerd.
I
No, I'm
know.
just kidding. No.
Yeah. I was so geeked about open mic. I was like, guys, murdered for 3 minutes, like no one can tell me
but I
anything.
mean, that's good though to remind yourself too of how psyched you were.
that
That like this is
man.
fun, exciting thing.
Yeah.
So just because you've been grinding for a minute, you should still, you know, be reminded this is fun. This is exciting. This is something that a lot of people don't do.
I lose that a lot. Like the last year of comedy, changing scenes in comedy is so hard because you got to reprove yourself to every booker in the city. So you're going months without trying a new joke. You're just doing like the bangers, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like now I'm like having fun again. I'm like, oh, bookers believe in me. They give you, give you more trust. So it's been fun again.
What was your approach when you decided, okay, I'm coming to a new scene? What was your thought process of this is how I'll dip my foot in. I'll start from here.
I just signed up for open mics and just brought the heat. Like I was like, I'm not trying any new jokes. I just want to.
What was the first open mic in Dallas?
Oh, dude, it was the Comedy Arena in McKinney because I lived with my in-laws for a little bit. They stay in like North Dallas or whatever, so that was the closest one. But I signed up for that Comedy Arena open mic. It's Tuesday. The Sunday previous, I just performed at the Georgia Theater, opening for Steve Hofstetter.
Wow.
So I just did a crowd of like 300 people. I drive cross country, moved to the new city. Now I'm number 40 on this list at a
Are they still doing it downstairs in the bar area?
They are.
Yeah, so it's not even on the stage upstairs. Yeah.
I was telling my wife, like, I think I made a mistake. Like this is, I just did like a sold out theater. Now it's like, now I'm doing 4 minutes.
I made a mistake.
I made a mistake. Yeah.
But I don't think you're doing it right unless you have those moments, right?
Yeah, and then I got bookings off. It's like you just keep showing up, doing like the best you possibly could, and then I just
Was an outsider, you know, and I mean like somebody who doesn't perform. It seems that way to me that the comedy community around here, whether it's up north by McKinney and North Plano, because you know there's that club in West Plano, they just changed names to.
Mic Drop Plano.
Yes,
I was there yesterday. Yeah.
But it seems like there's a good community around here. Once you find kind of the people that you vibe with, they all seem pretty supportive.
They all
even with all the internal politics, they are still supportive of comedy.
Yeah,
which is very nice to see. Because I'll sit with somebody now that I'm running, not so much, but like I'd go to an open mic, have a few drinks, and I'd be sitting next to someone that I know who might be booking at this place or they run this show, and a lot of what I'm doing is just kind of listening and watching.
Okay,
so I'll have a drink or two with them, chat about something, but then you'll see other comics come up and talk to them, and you know, so then you start hearing a little bit of the inside drama, and it was always interesting because they'd be like, "No, they need to work on this, that before I'd work with them, blah blah blah." But then when they came up, because I was thinking, "Oh man, that was a lot of like behind the back shit talk here. That's lame." But then they'd come up and they'd go, "Hey, what you need to work on is this or that," and I'm like, "I'm probably not going to work with you until you fix that."
Oh wow, they're actually honest about it. That's good. That's good.
Right. Okay, never mind. So that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
That's good.
So you know, it's like it's kind of brutal in that sense, but at least it was said to your face, and they're telling you like, if you fix this, I can help you out.
That's good. At least they know. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I was very surprised with how supportive it can be. I mean, everything's got its little corners of jerks, but overall it seems pretty nice.
Yeah, all the clubs here love good comics. I'll tell you that. Like a comic that shows up on time, that does well every time, you know? So it's like, if you're not getting booked, you might not be following one of the criteria for like, makes it easy. But like, would you book yourself? Is something I tell comics a lot, you know? So,
dude, I started sizing people up. Again, I love to hate, right?
I love to hate, yeah.
When people are like 15, 20 minutes late, I just start a big hate fest up here. Like, I'm just
it's so disrespectful.
Oh, man, this interview is going to be shit. Like,
yeah. It's their character, you know? It's like...
I wasn't like that until... You know, like once you get married, once you have a kid, all of a sudden it's like, hey man, it's not even my personal time you're taking up anymore. Now it's my wife's time. Now it's my son's time.
I'm booked up. Like I don't have a kid yet, but like every day I'm waking up at 5 a.m. to work out. Yeah. Now I got to go to work 6 to 4. You know, it's like I only so many minutes free a day. Like I'm at home 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know, like sentient, like awake and not sleeping.
You know, like did you ever have those people in your life who were like, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're not on time? Yeah. You ever hear that before?
I heard that before. Yeah.
And I used to think. Whatever, man. If it's 7 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so, but now I've definitely gotten to that way. Like, I don't judge anyone if they're not early, but when people are early, I'm like, oh,
it's because I respect you.
You're serious. Yeah. But I don't know, it's weird quality, especially when you're talking about working for a club. Someone who's trying to cut you a paycheck, and you know,
because like, no offense to like people like my opening level, we're replaceable. Like, there's plenty of guys that can have a killer 20, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like the moment you give them a reason to not work with you anymore, they're gonna find another guy that.
You know what I would say? As someone just watching it, right? I don't think that you are as replaceable as as you think you are, right?
Wow.
I think the club is just willing to go with someone not as good who they know will show up on time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right? But I don't think there is people, like, I think when you find somebody as a killer 15 to 20, like a real killer 15 to 20, I don't think that's very easy to come by. I've watched a lot of features, that are from here and not from here, where you're like, they are just not that great to be a feature, right?
Yeah.
But that's what it is. It's like, I bet they're super dependable. I bet they're easy to deal with. I bet they show up on time. They probably don't freak the headliner out. They probably don't bring a bunch of friends back into the green room and make it weird.
Yeah.
They're not getting too drunk. They don't have a weird spouse or girlfriend or somebody walking around. And it's like, I bet there's some people who are really killer who deserve that spot. They're just not reliable.
Yeah.
It's like, so if all you do is learn how to like wake up on time,
Right.
how much further would your career be?
Right. And there's people that are willing to take the hit at the feature to like not get as funny as the feature act just to have an easier night. Because like the headliner is really what they're worried about, right? Like selling tickets, making people come back. So yeah, it's that's why I try to be, respectable and always try on time, like just professional.
Yeah.
Through and through,
It blows my mind that you're still this new to this scene. I had no idea. I don't know why.
Yeah, I moved here in August. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, you're making moves, man. Good for you.
Yeah, thanks. It's been fun. It's been fun.
Well, no buyer's remorse, at least.
No, I mean, I sat down and talked to friends about it. Like, if you ever want to have a house as a comedian, you better have that money in cash, or you better have a day job. Because the loan approval thing, dude,
brutal.
they check every dollar
Brutal.
you've ever made. They're like, where were you? How long were you waitering for? Did you Chili's or Applebee's? Which one were you at? It's like they
we
run it down.
had some Venmo money that they were like, who's sending? Where's this coming from?
That's crazy.
Is this income that
Yeah.
you rely on?
Yeah,
And it's like, no, it's just like some friends. We all went out to dinner, and like I was just like, oh, I'll get this Venmo, and they're like, okay, so you're not listing this as income? And I'm like, no,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And you'll owe like $100 on a credit card. Like, are you gonna pay that off? I'm like, yeah, dude, I got the 100. Yeah, bro, I'm good for it.
Well, and we bought our house here in Dallas in 2018, so it was pre-COVID, pre-craziness.
That's nice, man. That's nice.
So it's like, I look at, how old are you and your wife? Or how old are you?
I'm 27.
27, yeah. So, it just seems insurmountable for people under 30 right now to try to
hard.
get home.
It's pretty hard.
It seems just crazy.
I made a lot of sacrifices. Like, I can't go to as many mics as I want to because you pick this path of life, Like, if you want to be a good family man that has a house and a comic, you got to be able to skip most weekdays and just work the weekends, So
Yeah, it's brutal. I look at my, I was thinking like, okay, if I started saving money like I did, when I was waiting tables, it's like, how long to save up to get the down payment of the average home right now?
Bro.
Like to go like a 20% down payment, which a lot of people are not able to do, right?
Yeah.
And that's really like financially, you should do that.
Because you have to pay PMI if you don't, escrow, all that crap.
Yeah. And it's just like, you start doing the numbers and you're like, okay, by the time I save up the down payment, we're probably going to get hit with some more inflation, and then now the down payment's more, and I'm just forever going to be saving for this down payment.
Yeah,
which is why everyone will take out, they'll put down 5% down or whatever,
or their 401k, they loan against themselves. It's like
yeah. It's brutal. Yeah. Anyway, back to the finance talk.
Yeah, I love talking numbers, man. Because like I realize if you want to be a full-time comic one day, you have to lower your expenses. You got to have like a fixed cost every month.
Again, talking to Danny, the other Danny, that was like, hearing him so maturely talk about like, well, the goal is to live on the least I need to live on so that I can achieve these other goals. I was like, dang, dude, man, you got it.
Yeah.
You're going to be the person that no one expects to do really well. And then I'm going to find out you have like 3 homes. And
dude,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. But he's right. It's like being able to cut back. Mine was the opposite. We never really cut back. I was just a madman, and I would just work like 4 jobs.
Dang.
That
really?
was the way. Yeah.
Wow.
Honestly, I never feel comfortable when I just have one income.
Wow.
I feel so uncomfortable. Like
Good for you.
we grew up poor, but not like needing or wanting.
Sure,
we had food, we had shelter, but not a lot of extras. And I just, knowing how close everyone is to slipping into poverty, like if you had a couple bad accidents or something, right?
Yeah.
Good people end up in poverty and can't get out. Hardworking people who just couple bad turns, that one bad car accident or somebody got diagnosed with cancer or something. I don't know. And so yeah, if I get down to one income, it's like a junkie who hasn't had a fix. I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just getting one check these days.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I end up having like let's see, yeah. When we bought that home, I think I had 3 W-2s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I was just like, gotta hustle.
Good for you, man. At least you get a W-2. I get a lot of 1099s as a comedian. And it's like, filing those taxes are a nightmare, dude.
No, I'll tell you afterwards, but I'm in a field where you can work kind of a couple different jobs at the same time.
Oh, nice.
And it works out okay. But, my wife, that was like a big thing when we got married. She's like, so, if we have a kid and stuff, like, you can't keep this up.
Yeah,
And I was like, no, I know. And so she's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I guess I'm going to start a podcast.
Yeah.
That doesn't take up time, but no.
Hey, this isn't a stream of income, so you're good.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's not a W-2. Right?
I lost so much money in my podcast.
What was your podcast about? What did you do?
I was like a Theo Von knockoff. Like, it's just like comedian talking about his gigs and like interviewing interesting guests, you know,
trying to get clips and everything.
Yeah, but like, dude, I was an open micer 2 years in. Like, I'm not like doing fun shows. I was like,
what do you think you learned from it though? How long did you do it?
I did it for like 2 years. Like
okay, so what do you think you learned out of 2 years of podcasting?
Yeah, I learned how to have a conversation. I think just like actually listen to someone talk and like thinking a reply instead of like talking over them and all that.
Yeah,
I think I learned that. I learned to respect like a weekly schedule and like what signing up for things really mean. Because like weekly uploads, like you got to like have a day for editing, a day for like rewatching, you know, all that stuff. It's like really time management. It's like before you commit to things, you know. So
I learned that I thought I was pretty good at conversation until you start a podcast, and then you think, oh man, like I never thought of talking as a skill.
Oh, it's a huge skill. Yeah, yeah.
I gained so much respect for people that do even the cheesiest of shows, like watching like someone like Ryan Seacrest do America's Got Talent.
You're
like, man, no, I have more respect for that now. Like that actually probably is a lot harder to do that on the fly.
It's hard,
and you know, some producer in your ear going, like, okay, we need a soundbite from them right now.
Right.
And then he's got to come up with something.
Yeah, clipping everything was a nightmare. Like it just wasn't worth it. Like it's just so hard.
That's one of those things. Like comics will want to release like a recording, like some stand up or whatever, and they're like, yeah, you know. So I was just thinking, we'll record something with like 2-3 cameras, just some good sounding audio, and then we'll just clip all that up. And it's like, dude, I don't think you realize it's all doable, but that is so much work. Just time.
I love your thoughts on this. Like, I don't post that many comedy clips. I post enough to like get, you know, work around town.
Yeah.
But it's like my theory is like, let's say I post a clip and it blows up. I only have 30 minutes. Like I can't even headline a club here for 45. So like, that's my biggest nightmare, like getting like an opportunity before I'm ready and they pass you up. Well,
let me ask you this. I'm still learning a lot about this stuff too, but I'll give you my opinion. But please, you know, grain of salt, take my opinion,
by
right?
all means, yeah.
But the 30 minutes you have that you feel like, you know, you can fill out, do you think that is the same 30 minutes you've been working on for the last 4 years? Or do you think you've cycled in and out of like 10-minute chunks and now you've kind of got this? Like, how much time do you think you've written, good or bad, in the last 4 years?
Oh, I could definitely do an hour then, because I've cycled a lot of 10s. Like the 20 strong, and the last 10 you're cycling stuff, trying to see what really sticks into that 20 later.
Okay, so in 4 years, you feel like, for better or worse, good or bad material, you've written about an hour that you performed at some point.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
So I kind of look at it from two ways. One, if you're only 4.5 years in, you got a lot of time to still kind of perfect what you think your version of your comedy is, right? So like from what I've seen, I've only seen the one. So it seems like you at least know who you are on stage. Like you're not trying to figure out like, who am I up here? How do I speak? What's my, you know, some people feel like they need a persona. Some people feel like they're themselves.
Sure.
It seems like you're up there like yourself, right?
How do you perceive me? I'm kind of curious now.
I didn't feel like you were putting on an act. I felt like this was you. And then what you said earlier is that you don't do a lot of interactive comedy. You do verbatim comedy. Is that how you said it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, he's got jokes that he has prepared, that he is going through the jokes that he has written in the way he likes to write them, which is its own style. And that it just seemed like this is him. It seems authentic to him, and we're getting the jokes that he's written, not like a phony. I'm trying to say it in a way, it's so hard to say things anyway without stuff sounding insulting, but it's like, I know you worked on those jokes and you plan to tell those jokes.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas some people are like, you know, they try to make it seem like these jokes were spontaneous, and it's like, you've been working on that joke for 6 months.
I see what you
So where they're like, you know, I went out with someone yesterday, and it's like they wrote this joke 6 months ago. And it's like, I get what you're doing, but I also can kind of feel that that's not 100% genuine. You're better off just going, I went out with someone 6 months ago. It's like, just say however it is. It's fine with me, right? But now I think what you have to decide is, you know, what are the jokes you want to write? What do you feel like you want to do as an artist, making comedy? And if you had a clip blow up, do you think you could write time? Let me think how to phrase this. If you had a clip blow up right now and all you could do is 15 to 20 minutes, not the worst, because you would still be getting some exposure, and you could build on it, as long as you were being honest. Everyone going like, oh man, I can really only do 50. I'm working on 15. I'm working on stuff right now, but that's what I like to do. Somebody might take you on the road to do 15 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I don't know. Maybe not. But also there's nothing wrong too with just posting the pictures of your shows you're doing, clips with your friends while you're at a show, if you had some short little funny moment, and then still spending the next 4 to 5 years working on what you think is going to be your first ever really good hour.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the route I'm on for sure.
it's kind of either way. I think is fine.
Yeah.
I just think if you're gonna post the clips, you know, you're gonna have to be cautious, knowing, like you said, if it does blow up, you're gonna have to tell people no a lot, because you're gonna have to say, I would love to, I'm just not prepared.
That's my biggest fear.
And if I am prepared, you know, maybe I could reach out to you in the future. I think people would respect that.
Yeah.
I think they know the game that you're trying. So I don't think either way would be bad. It's just whichever way you would prefer, you know.
I just see a lot of comics blow up, and they're just like, you know, they get these contracts like release a 30-minute here, release an hour here, and it's like by the third iteration, it's terrible, man. It's like the loosest stuff.
I definitely think when I see like 10, 15-year comics finally kind of getting their dues, it definitely seems more like they're ready to go.
Ready.
They're not nervous. I mean, I'm sure they're nervous, but they seem good to go. Like, this is what I've been working towards.
Yeah.
So it's like anything. What other than comedy, what do you think is the longest you ever worked at something besides comedy? Like, whether it's sports or a hobby, what's something you did for more than 4 years?
I just told my mom about this, actually, because comedy is the first thing I've stuck with and haven't quit after like 2 years, you know? So I did jujitsu for 2 years.
Okay.
That was part of one of my jokes too, but it was like I trained jujitsu, you know, did tournaments and all, like cut weight, like really competed.
So other than existing, you've never done anything longer than 4.5 years right now?
Outside of school, probably. I learned Vietnamese for like 8 years, but then that's like a side.
Okay, but that's probably a good thing, though, because when you're speaking Vietnamese 4 years in, you probably think you got it down pretty good, right?
Not really. Yeah, I was a kid. I was like 8.
So you're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, now if you look back at how you were probably speaking the language, you see how far you've progressed in it now, right?
Yeah.
Now you're probably able to have much deeper conversations and with the vocabulary you have in Vietnamese versus then.
Yeah.
Similar thing, right? It's like nothing that you're doing right now would prevent you from being funny at comedy, right? You're just going to learn these other skills. It's going to make it even better. So I don't know, man. But also, I think now you just do whatever makes you happy while you're doing it.
That's really where I'm at. I swear, like I have a lot of mentorship in comedy where it's like I'm exactly where I need to be. Like I really don't want any spot. I have every spot I want. You know, it's like I'm working every weekend. I'm getting better. You know, it's like I'm cool getting better 2 minutes a week, like a minute a week. It's okay. You know, like.
Well, can you think of any comic who 4 years in launched their career and then they were just always on the up and up since then? You don't really hear that.
You never hear that, man.
So, you know, I think some of the conversations I'll have on here where people are like, you know, I just need to make something work. Well, it's like, pump the brakes. Like, just enjoy this process, you know? And not to go back to running, but genuinely, I know people hate hearing about marathons, but genuinely that has taught me so much about just like, I'm not doing this for now. I'm doing this for 3 months from now.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I never really had that kind of maturity when I did anything else, you know? Even when I played sports growing up, like I played basketball I never was able to think like 6 months down the road.
Yeah,
That's why we're doing this workout is 6 months down the road.
Right.
I think a lot of comics that I'll talk to, for various reasons. One, they're in like their mid-20s, late 20s, right? So they don't have a lot of experiences that required maturity yet anyway.
Right, yeah.
Right? You already bought a house, so like that's a very mature thing. You already got married, that's a very mature thing.
Yeah.
So it rewires your brain little by little to think about these things, right? And when you're talking to somebody who's like single, they're they don't have any major purchase or anything, it's hard to really tell them like, don't live like for this week.
I know, yeah.
You look down the road, and you know, in my 20s, I wouldn't have done that either. But I think that's kind of the difference is going like, hey man, at 4.5 years in, enjoy the ride.
I love it.
You want to post some clips? Post some clips. Yeah. See what happens, right?
That's what my friends say. It's like, you're overthinking this.
Yeah,
like,
if you want to post some clips, post them. If you want to keep it all close to you while you're perfecting things, that's also cool too. I think bookers of clubs and things would all respect each version of that, right? And look, everybody's going to tell you like, no. What you got to do is this. But how many of them are at the place you want to be anyway?
Right, yeah.
None of us know.
No, yeah.
It's like people will come up to me and be like, hey, man, what do I do if I want to get like a podcast clip to go viral? I'm like, I have no clue, man. I put them out there. If they go, they go. If they don't, they don't. I don't know what to tell you.
Right, yeah.
You know, if there was some kind of magic, as soon as we figure out how to manipulate that algorithm, it's going to change anyway.
100%.
So
100%.
Don't worry about it. It's like, just do your thing, enjoy it, put it out there. As long as you can stand behind, you're happy, you stand behind what you're doing and you're really happy with it, then you're not losing.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
don't
I'm
know.
happy what I'm doing. I tell my friends my fear, like, what if I blow up too soon? Like with this clip, my buddy's like, you're not gonna blow up too soon with this clip. Dude. Like, don't worry about it.
That's a good friend.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
good
a
friend.
great-
Keep them around.
Yeah. I have no yes men. I have all no men around me. I promise you.
As long as there are no men that are constructively no. You know what I'm saying?
My wife's the best.
Yeah.
No, girl. Like, I run a joke by her. She's like, that's not going to work. And I'll do it in spite, and it bombs every time. I'm like, wow, she called it.
Yeah.
Like, she called it every time.
Dude, I can't tell you how much, like, just having a good partner, even if you're not married,
yeah.
but just having like that, it's just such a good. Have you met Lawrence Rosales?
Yeah, I listened to your episode.
Oh, okay.
That was the first one I listened to.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. He's got a great joke about like if men are single too long, you hit a certain age, you start doing weird shit, like you start building ships in a bottle. And
Yeah,
stuff. And
that's funny.
it's so true. It's like, man, you need that person who keeps you in check.
Yeah, you got to check you.
That's the thing I've hated about marriage the most is that all the stereotypes are true.
I know.
100% true.
Yeah.
I was thinking like when you're growing up and you're watching these like sitcoms where there's like the wise wife and the dopey dad and all this, and it's like, why is it so accurate?
I'm that
now?
guy.
I'm
Yeah.
making these
I'm that
dumb
guy.
mistakes
Yeah.
that I swore like, oh, men don't do that, husbands don't do that.
And you carry yourself around a certain way when there's a woman in the room.
Yeah.
Like my wife took a 1-week vacation once, right? I had the house to myself. I bought a Panda Express family meal, 2 of them to go. I ate that for a week straight. It was 10 meals just meal prepped in my fridge. And I didn't work out. I didn't do any mics. I'm like, dude, if I'd have a wife, I'd just be
And then you have the one day before she comes home where you panic clean everything.
clean everything. You got to take out the trash 3 times. It's all red to go boxes. Dude.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah, man. Yeah, I think that's part of it. That's the weird thing with comedy is there's all these people who tell you like it's got to be done this way, got to be done, but
Yeah.
they all have different backgrounds in life, and it's like, well, that works great for you.
Yes.
But
I love listening to comedy podcasts, right? And it's like I see these like comedians giving advice to young comics, like, but you were on MTV when you were 20,
right,
like you were in show. I'm in Houston. I don't know showbiz, you know. So like, I started comedy in Peoria, Illinois, and then I moved to Atlanta because Roy Wood Jr. You know,
Yeah.
very funny guy. He said every year he runs a special in Peoria, Illinois, at the Jukebox Comedy Club, and in Atlanta to make sure it travels from the Midwest to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? Tractors to Cadillacs. That's what he said. And I'm like, I got to figure out how to copy that because he's a dude born in the South, not in showbiz. And I'm like, dude, that's like advice that relates to me. You know?
Dude, he's got one of the best jokes written I think ever, and I think it's going to fly under the radar for a long time. He did like a White House Correspondents' Dinner or something.
Sure.
Did you see when he did this?
I don't think I saw that.
I'll find the clip and send it to you. But he's talking about how billionaires buy up everything. And then he was talking about how they bought the Supreme Court, right? And so he's talking about what is his name? One of the Supreme Court justices is Clarence, and he's black. And he's like, he bought the Supreme Court justice's mother's home.
Oh, wow.
And that was his way of bribing the Supreme Court justice. And he was talking about how like exclusive. He's like, he's like, you bought a Supreme Court justice. And he's like, not just any of them. He's like, the black one. He's like, that's low on stock.
Yeah.
And he's going in more about the justice and this bribery. And at the end, and he's like, he goes, and that is what the definition of an NFT is, which is non-fungible token. Like a token black person.
Yeah, that's
and I was like,
crazy.
oh my God.
Yeah, he's a genius. He's like next
Smart
level.
dude,
Yeah.
man. Like I always thought he was funny. I always thought he's great. But
Smart
that
guy.
joke alone, I was like, I think I underestimated his comedy writing.
His story's amazing too. Like he's working.
Yeah.
Because he had a day job too. I hate talking to comics that don't have day jobs. I'm like, you don't relate to me at all. Like,
Yeah. Well, you know what? Again, it's just hating for hating's sake. But like,
Sure.
and like one of my favorites is Bill Burr, and he still does this, right? I can't stand any airplane humor. The moment I hear, the moment I hear airport, airplane, TSA, blah, blah, I'm like, gosh, how much more are we going to talk about this?
Yeah.
But I think what that's a product of is you hit that certain area when you're a comic to where you're just traveling all the
You're just
time.
in hotels and
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's why, like, to your point, I think a day job is important. It's like, I think you need to blend with the normal people as much as possible to remember what the real world is like when you're not just going club.
Like a real 9 to 5. You got to wake up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
You're like, what a
everyone's experience. That's why somebody like Nate Bargatze catches on so much. Is whether he is or isn't, he appeals to the everyman. You know, like he still seems like someone you would see at work. You would see at the park with your kid or something. Like you're gonna bump into this guy. He could be 100 different people that you've seen today. And I think that's why it works for him so well. Other than he's just funny.
He's a day job too.
Have you ever tried to retell his jokes?
Oh yeah, they bomb every
It doesn't
time.
work.
Yeah, his
It's
cadence.
100% his personality.
You see a lot of Neighbor Gotti impersonators nowadays, though, on Instagram.
yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're stealing him,
Yeah.
and they do well too. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Like, you're like the photocopy, and you're still selling as well as the original. You know, it's.
Yeah, I mean, that's to be expected, right? As soon as
Yeah.
somebody blows up, people are going to imitate it.
I was
But-
a Mark Norman copycat.
Really?
Yeah.
Would not have guessed that.
My first 6 months of
Especially since
comedy.
you like to work clean.
Yeah, I was because I love the way how tight his jokes are.
Yeah.
I think I kept that close to me, but his delivery, I was like, because you can bomb in his style and not feel bad.
Yeah.
'Cause it's awkward. It's like, well, I'm just doing comedy, folks.
He's another one, man. I love Mark Norman.
Yeah.
He should not be funny because
Yeah.
when you listen to his style, maybe not now, but when he was really first popping,
Yeah.
he was 100% a cheesy 80s comic.
Yeah, it's very
He was
quick,
quick
puns.
It's
Yeah.
it's the stuff other comics would make fun of it. It's just he weaved in all of this really kind of dangerous and risky material into a cheesy, hokey delivery. I'd love to talk to him about it if I ever meet him and see if that offends him or if he's like, no, that's what I was doing. You know?
It's very disarming. He's a very disarming guy.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because, did you see the joke he had about pedophiles? How lucky we are to not be a pedophile?
Yeah, the red wine and
yeah. It's like that is a true risky joke, and he told it in the most playful way.
Yeah.
It's like
And
this
there's-
guy's really great.
There's so much that goes into it. It's in the middle of the set when you
Yeah.
really won trust over. It's like, yeah, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. But
Yeah.
I copied him tremendously because I started in
Really?
2020, so that's when his special came out, and I was like,
yeah.
oh, that's what good comics do. I'm like, okay, let me just do the whole.
So you started 2020, middle of the pandemic, decided to do some comedy, huh?
Yeah, I moved to Peoria, Illinois, because
Yeah.
I graduated college 2020. So I didn't have a graduation. My parents, we had to get some money, go together. So all my job offers fell through, and then the only one I had left was in Peoria, Illinois.
Wow.
So I packed my Acura up, all my belongings. I just drive 16 hours, up north to an apartment I've never even viewed before. I'm just like, just give me the lease, I'll sign it.
Yeah.
I was driving. I was taking my Brita's hitting me in the face when I'm driving, foam roller hitting the other side. Just packed to the brim. And then I go to this apartment. I have no friends in the city, so I start just writing on a list everything I ever wanted to do as a kid. I was comedy, jiu-jitsu, very Joe Rogan archetype, and then just collecting football cards, just all these random things. And then that's when I started comedy.
What's the comedy scene like in Illinois? In
It's
that
good.
part of Illinois, I should say.
Yeah. Peoria. There's a Jukebox Comedy Club.
Hey.
Jukebox Comedy Club. That's where I started.
Yeah.
It's about 20, 30 comics.
Uh-huh.
Not very competitive. It's just a good scene. No one's trying to make it out of there. We're just trying to have fun, love the craft,
Yeah.
That's probably the most polarizing difference when I moved to a big cities comedy scene. Because everyone's trying to get stage time. You can actually make a living doing this.
Yeah.
So people are fighting for feature spots and all. Peoria, everyone gets a guest spot. Just kind of have fun, man.
Wow, that's cool.
And we get real headliners, which is awesome. So you see real comedy.
Yeah.
And see them in the light of a small town. I saw
Yeah.
Theo Vaughn, the headline there, and it's seeing him work a room of 200.
How big's 200? That's what I was going to
Yeah,
ask. How
200.
big-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sweet spot, isn't it?
Dude, I love that club up there.
I was going to say, what you're describing sounds like my favorite version of watching comedy.
The owner, Dan Conlon, is the most comedy, he loves comedy. He'll record the open mic set on a VCR and watch it the next morning. That's how much
awesome.
he loves it.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
And he designed the club a certain way, low ceilings, tables spread out around the, those poles in the comedy club?
Yes.
It's okay, these are around the poles now. He really thought of everything, It's yeah, and just seeing him really put love into it. So
That's who you need running that stuff, right?
Right.
I won't mention any names in this area, but there are a couple clubs around here where I don't know the owners. I don't know them, but I want to know them and kind of shake them a little bit and be like,
know.
don't you love it though? Why, if you don't love it anymore,
I know.
sell it.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Let somebody. It's you had a passion for it at some point, or you would not have done this because it looks like it's really hard to run a club well.
It's so hard.
So you had to love it. But now there's a couple who feel like they're going through the motions. And it's look, everybody's got their ups and downs. But
Yeah.
you need to find that spark again. It's read that note from that first open mic
Yeah,
again.
seriously, that'll get
and
you
remember,
going,
it's
man.
hey, it's really cool that you own a club.
Yeah.
And you can put people on stage and change their lives.
Seriously,
if
yeah.
they do a good job. And it's and you should want to, not gatekeep, but you should want to curate. You should want to go out and be like, hey, Danny, man, that set, pretty good. Here's where it went low.
Right.
Try to work on this. Maybe go talk to so-and-so. Maybe they can give you some tips.
Yeah.
Be a part of it, right? To where it's just people are psyched about your club,
Yeah.
working it or just showing up to it. And there's a couple where you're just like, why does it feel so sad in here all the time?
Yeah, they don't care about the local. Some clubs just don't care about the local scene because there's no money in the local scene. Why would you?
But again, maybe that's the maturity of running the marathon. It's hey, dummy.
Exactly.
It's you got to invest in these locals.
Yes.
Okay. if you want to keep this scene thriving. You got to eat your vegetables. You got to do the push-up, right?
Eat the goo.
Yeah, it's like you got to do this now so that you have this network of killers who are growing every year, you know?
And we comics don't forget. Louis C.K. is headlining here.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because Louis C.K. said Jukebox is one of the first clubs to take a chance on him before he like blew up, you know? So it's like he doesn't forget. Like comics don't forget that.
That's incredible.
He's doing a weekend like 6 shows. People from Chicago are buying tickets to come out of Peoria. You know, it's like
good for him, man. I love to hear that. You familiar with like Jack White of the White Stripes and
the band,
yeah. So he's like big time rock star, and he released an album recently. Before he went on his like massive stage tours and festivals and all that, he was doing pop-up shows in random clubs. So he like played down in Deep Ellum at Trees.
That's awesome.
He went down to Austin to another small club. All of his fans that were part of clubs and things all got access to like pre-sale tickets early and everything. So you could go watch him in like a 300-seat bar venue, you know, before he went and made all of his money. It's like, yeah, Louis C.K., it's like he can sell out whatever he wants to now.
Wherever,
You know, it's not about the money when he goes to that place.
Yeah.
It's about, you know, that love of comedy and doing it right. We got to see him at the Addison Improv, my wife and I. It was after he was, you know, disgraced. And he was like slowly coming back in. So he was working on that set, his comeback set. He was working on that. And who was it? I think it was Arun Rama. He sent me a text and was like, hey man, they're not even like putting it on the website, but like Louis C.K. is coming here.
Wow.
Like if you go there right now, you can buy tickets, but they're not like advertising it or anything. And sure enough, he like sent me the link and I was like, oh my God. So we went, and to see someone at that caliber in that intimate of a venue, I don't know that I'll ever see another comedy show live in person that good. So to know that he's just going up to Peoria and doing that, that's incredible.
It's weird. Like
it's going to be some of the best shows you'll ever see.
100%. Headliners have this energy about them, right? Like I've even seen like Paul Verzi.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like
great comic.
Kind of like a lower popular headliner, but he's a headliner. You can just tell he's been doing 15 years, 20 years.
Okay, that's He's not a low. Yeah, he's not a lower headliner. He's just not a household name.
Yeah, lower popularity.
But he
for
is
sure.
a killer.
He's a killer.
Yeah.
He's and like you just see like the aura of them, and like I saw him at the Punchline in Atlanta. I bought a ticket to see it. He rocks the room with 20 people, destroys.
Wow.
I'm like, dude, like there's like levels to this, you know, like
watching somebody like that control it.
Yeah.
I think is real interesting. They just control the room in a way that you can't really explain.
It's beautiful seeing humans like dedicate their life to a craft for like 20 years. Like you see like an NBA player, right? Like they dribble the ball different than we do.
Yeah.
Like they like their steps are like efficient. So my podcast, I interviewed a guy that played against Stephen Curry in college.
Really?
Yeah, he played like D3 with him, like versus Davidson. And this guy guarded him. And I was like, so did you know he's gonna be Steph Curry? He's like, you can tell he moves different. Like his steps are efficient. He's thinking about like sequences in his head the whole time. I'm like, see, that's like kind of what you strive towards. Like,
and it's instinct.
It's instinct, yeah. It's like the ball's like a second part of your hand. Like these comics have like mics attached to their head. Like they're just like they're one with the craft, you know.
But that's what's weird about comics too is they are not the most okay. Like Steph Curry, you know, I watched him. You know, he had some kind of camp that he recorded or something, and I'm watching a clip where he's like, "I don't care how good you are." He's like, "I start right here at the rim." He's like, "I take 10 shots here." Take a couple steps back, 10 shots. He's like, and you don't move back until you make those. And he's still doing this fundamental training where it's like he's probably doing, 500 shots a day or whatever it is. And it's like that is like dedication, discipline, I mean, hard work. And comics aren't known to be hardworking, disciplined people.
Yeah.
So when you do see someone on that upper tier of comedy and you know just how many mics they had to go through, just how many bad sets, and they still hung in there to make that, you're like, damn, that's pretty hard. Like you earned every bit of it. It's weird. Y'all's profession is it's strange because you're not gonna to go back to Nate Bargatze. It's like he was a nobody for 15, 18 years.
But he's killing. He was killing a long time. Yeah.
But now all of a sudden he's 20 years in or whatever. Now it's paying off big time. Now he's a millionaire. He can go do whatever he wants in comedy. But it's like you got to go through 10, 15, 20 years of being unknown, and your family's like, so are you successful? And it's like, no, I sold out 4 shows. It's like, yeah, but like, how long are you going to do this? It's like, no, that was a lot of money, you know?
Yeah, it takes a long. My mom still doesn't want me doing this. Like, she doesn't buy into it at all.
Yeah.
Like, if I didn't have like a day job that like had a house tied to it, she'd be like, just quit doing it. Like, you're wasting your time, you know?
Yeah.
But now it's like, all right, I'm the only one in our house, like, only one in our family that has a house. Like, what do you want? Like, what else do you want? You know what I mean? Like,
but now she's thinking like, well, if he didn't do this comedy thing, what would he have?
Dude, she keeps bringing up grad school this whole time. Like,
oh man,
I told her like, hey, it's my 4-year anniversary doing comedy. I'm doing the Kessler Theater. She's like, you could have got a master's degree in those 4 years. You could have got an MBA. You could have You could have got 2 MBAs, you know?
Yeah, but it's also hard to sell to that generation, especially a generation of immigrants who made it in another country.
Right, yeah.
That nowadays, education isn't necessarily key.
Not at all. It's all networking.
But trying to explain that to them,
They don't
good
get it.
luck, man.
My mom worked the same job for 20 years, the same role. So she doesn't even comprehend
What line of work was she in?
architect. So
Oh, that's a good career, though.
Well, she's like just a pencil whip, like a drafter. You know, so it's like you can never be a drafting manager. It was like a company of 5 people.
I see. Yeah.
Very
Could
small
she?
thing.
Would her job even exist now?
No,
It's changed, right?
they outsource it overseas, or it's like all computer generated, pretty easy.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Master's degrees. I think if you go to college for very specific things that require, you know, like, but to just go get a master's nowadays, even an MBA.
Yeah, I know. It's what are we doing here?
I don't know. Yeah. And I keep thinking of like, well, how much debt am I going to go into for this MBA?
Oh yeah, for 7% rate, it's like what are we doing here? You know,
Yeah.
Gotta start a drone business to pay it off, dude. It's like what are we
Tell
doing?
you what, man. Again, it's like I start thinking about that, and it's like the woman selling Stanley accessories. You know, here we go.
I had my first door deal this year, like where you get like part of the ticket sales of the door.
Oh, congratulations!
Thanks, man. And like the money from that, I'm like, I'm gonna start doing the accent. Like I'm gonna do whatever it takes, dude. I'm gonna get these tickets sold because I see why people sell out. I get it, man. I totally get it.
Yeah, you're just gonna lean into it hard. Did you ever watch the show, the movie with Adam Sandler, Funny People? Have you watched that?
I haven't seen it, no.
Man, you got to check it out.
I'll check it out,
It's a
yeah,
good
yeah.
comedy movie.
Cool.
But Adam Sandler is basically playing like a version of himself, but he is severely depressed. He's like a guy who's huge comic. He's done all these cheesy movies and stuff, but he's very depressed, and he's getting some writers together because he wants to start performing comedy again.
Okay.
And I don't want to give too much away, but you meet these different characters of comics. So Seth Rogen is one of the ones that he ends up working with, and he's going to be a guy like at your level. Like he's a comic, he's pretty funny, and he just wants somebody to like take notes, help him write some stuff, tell me what punches work. But Aziz Ansari plays like the cheesy comic who's getting a lot more success. Like just what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like he's got a lot of gimmicky stuff on stage, and he's like, "And what's my name?" And they're like, and he's like, "And tell your friends." Like, you know, stuff like that. And they just all hate him, but they're and his Seth Rogen's parents are like, "You should do more like him. Like we know his name.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you know."
Oh yeah.
So you got to do it, man. Just start talking about bad drivers, math.
Yeah.
You know, tiger moms, whatever you got to do, man.
My mom sent me. So there's like this white guy that's fluent in Vietnamese. He did a 10-minute stand-up set in Vietnamese in Vietnam.
Ooh.
It was like very elementary jokes, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm a white guy in Vietnam, huh? You know?
Yeah.
But he was murdering. My mom was like, "Look how genius this guy is." I'm like, "Dude, like."
Has your family ever gone back to Vietnam?
My mom has a couple times.
You haven't?
I have never been. No,
Interesting.
I never left the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you know? I mean, you know who Tom Segura is, right?
Yeah.
Fluent in Spanish, and he
Yeah.
did a full Spanish tour.
That is pretty sick.
He did he would have to sell the tickets of like there will be no English spoken.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is a Spanish tour, and he talked about it a lot as like in his mind. I think it bumped up his comedic chops a little bit too.
I bet.
Just because the jokes, it's not like you could just take your English jokes and translate them to Spanish.
Not at all. Yeah,
he had to write Spanish material. You know. So maybe you could find little. I mean, God, especially here in DFW, the Vietnamese community is huge.
Yeah, I got a project on the side I'm writing.
Are you?
I want to do like a Vietnamese themed set, like just like Vietnam history and like just more pride. Because like I mean, I didn't see much content growing up. Like it's cool being Vietnamese. I never saw that growing up. You're just like another dude, you're the Asian guy, like you know. But now it's like I want to take pride in it. I'm trying to write some more jokes about that.
Well,
so.
your experience, I think that's part of what I wrote an article about Ralph Barbosa when he kind of blew up, and he you know he's from here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, there were some people like talking smack about kind of what you were saying, like, oh, he's not ready or blah blah blah. And I'd written an article that was just about like, well, I don't know. I've seen Ralph. He seems like he's ready. He's put in a lot of work, and a lot of people love him. I think these are just haters, right? We all love to hate. But I titled it in a way where it was real clickbaity, you know. It was like it was something like the undeserving, you know, stand-up comic, and undeserving was like in quotes, right?
Sure.
So his fans, like half of them, were just mauling me.
Yeah.
Like I had a picture of me doing a home project or something. They're like, stick to construction. Like, it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
But the ones that read it liked it. But
Yeah, that's awesome.
someone sent me a message, and they're like, don't worry about the fans. They're like, we're just we're really into Ralph because he's like the first Hispanic comic that we've known that isn't doing the cheesy Hispanic jokes.
Yeah.
That he's here for like that younger generation of Hispanics who they're his age. They grew up here. They're not from Mexico. They're not from wherever.
Yeah.
They're not their parents. So they're not listening to like Carlos Mencia or something.
Right.
They're not dialing into that type of older Latin humor. Mm-hmm. So I think you could definitely have something. There's a whole and like your experience as a Vietnamese American. Definitely like. And without being cheesy, right? It's
Not at all, yeah.
You'd be just telling your experience in the funny way with these people. I think they'd love it, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to make something I wish I saw when I was a kid. It's like, because like the only Asian comics I saw seriously had like thick accents or like, you know what I mean? It's like the Russell Peters of the world, you know what I mean? So,
that's got to be kind of the premise you're taking with it then, right? Like, would you talk to the crowd just like that about, here's why I'm doing this?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely the pitch I would have. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure it out, trying to see, because there's definitely Asian comics now that don't lean the Asian thing, like Shang Wang. But I want to be like an Asian lead. Like you never consider like a Vietnamese dude to be a lead in anything, you know?
Yeah,
so.
but and just be clear, like, are you trying to do this in Vietnamese?
No, I do it in English. English, yeah.
Have you thought about doing it in Vietnamese?
Dude, I don't think that would sell at all.
I mean, specifically to like a Vietnamese crowd here in America.
Yeah,
not to sell it, but just to like. Because there are these pockets of the Vietnamese community everywhere in the country.
Yeah.
It could be a fun little aside. Like you could do the English version, but you could also do your own special Vietnamese version that's like just...
I'll think about it. I'm fluent in it. I could translate the
that's
jokes
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, not even translate. Like write a set for them.
Sure.
Where it's like, I was talking to this guy who hosts... he just messaged me, but he hosts a show called The Queer Factor.
Okay.
At DCC.
Nice.
And... so it's like LGBTQ plus whatever safe comedy show for them, and well, you said you listened to Liz's episode. I was talking to her about it a little bit about how like theme shows when it gets too like narrow. I'm like, is this doing more harm than good?
Yeah.
And the way he kind of explained it was, no, man, there's these jokes here that only this community is going to laugh really hard at, and this is the place to tell those because they're going to get it on such a deeper level because of their own personal narrow experience in life.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So when you were talking about it, that's the first thing I think of is like, how many people in this narrow experience like you have, right, would just die laughing at that. If you did a full Vietnamese thing catered just to that audience, just to the 5%, of audience members or whatever, and just do like, I'm going to do one in Dallas or wherever and see how it works. Or
I like that,
that could be fun. And then, again, like, still keep working on the English side of it.
Right,
for everybody. But, like, who knows, man? That could just be
a
fun performance, right?
Yeah. If you're curious about the numbers, 0.6 of Americans are Vietnamese.
0.6?
0.6.
It's lower than I thought.
Me too. I was like, that census joke is what started my whole, like, thought process looking into it. I was like, how many are Vietnamese people in America? I was like, 0.6.
0.6, man.
0.6.
That's, that seems like it's probably one of the lowest represented communities then, right?
Pretty low. And old Vietnamese people do not buy tickets to live shows. Like, my own parents were like, when I do a show in Houston, they're like, we'll find it online. It's fun. I'm like...
What is the Vietnamese cultural hub? Would it just be going to what? It's not church. It's temple. What is it?
Temple, sure.
Yeah. Is that like the cultural hub or what is it?
There's like a Chinatown equivalent. Like there's like Vietnamese stores, like a Vietnamese town, and like Houston too. But
I mean more of like a gathering place. Like where would people go just for?
Yeah, I don't know. I just went down there for Lunar New Year. We just met up at Temple, and it was like little shops and stuff, and like lion dancing and all that.
Is there some kind of festival or something? I'm thinking
probably Lunar New Year is probably the closest thing we're gonna get.
Something you could get on a stage and just be like, we got a special performer.
Oh man, that'd be
where they're not buying tickets, but you still like can get them there.
Yeah, be the Vietnamese open mic or something. Yeah, that'd be crazy. Yeah. I'll do a Vietnamese one man show.
But the thing is if it was great, right? Maybe that's the thing where they're like, we saw this new comedy thing. We considered, he's coming again. We considered buying a ticket to it if he comes back. Like, it might be a whole different group you've never even thought about.
Yeah, I think, you're onto something, man. It's a very...
Because I can understand why they wouldn't want to go to,
Dallas Comedy Club.
Yeah, Dallas
Comedy Club.
Yeah, we're going to go down to Deep Ellum to Dallas Comedy Club to watch some Gen Z or millennial person complain about they're not going to relate to any of this. They don't care about any of that. Yeah. Especially not like your mom who worked at the same place for 20 years. Right. She's going to be giving advice on, what you should have done.
Yeah, that's right. Get a degree.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just think that's the area of comedy I'd like to see more people go into where, because part of it too is I'm just interested. Like if you filmed that, I would watch it with subtitles just to see how much I could pick up on.
Heck yeah, okay, that means a lot, yeah.
To learn a little bit more about it. Like, the part I hate about comedy the most is the very broad appeal comedy.
Yes,
I think the more hyper specific and people are saying, oh, you can't do that. You got to have broad appeal for this. And it's like, I don't think you do. I think people are interested in other people's experiences. You know, that's why people like Roy Wood Jr., I think, are doing well. Talking about Asian comics, Ronnie Chang.
Yeah, very funny
it's
guy.
Like,
yeah.
He talks about a real narrow window of stuff that is very unique to him, and he's still incredibly successful.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure. He makes it relatable too. It's pretty sick. Like he's like very like good delivery, good act outs and all that. So it's a craft to it, man.
I can't remember which special it was, but he was like, "Go ahead and cancel me." He's like, "What am I going to do? Go back home where I'm famous and I have lots of money, and free health care? Go ahead." Like, it's like, there you go.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Or you could just throw on the cheesy accent and start telling some driving jokes, man.
Uncle Roger sells out. I'll tell you that right now, man. That orange polo selling millions of tickets, man.
I didn't realize how big he was.
Bro. And he's trying to do like a different persona now, like regular comedy. I'm like, but like the Uncle Roger stuff is clearly what people come for, you know? I'm like, dude, just sell out, man.
So
if you're going to sell out.
He's doing the Asian version of Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah.
You know, because that's all a persona, but he's done it so well. Like, that's all he is now, right?
Thick accent. It's like, I don't know.
That's got to be, like, you got to be dead inside at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean,
you got to be so bored. Like, yeah, it's great. You're selling out.
Yeah.
But at some point, aren't you like, I just want to show them what I can really do? And you can't.
I used to have, like, the hacky stuff when I first started because I lived in a small town. I was the only Asian guy in the zip code. Like, there's no other guys. So I would get away with saying, like, I'm Asian. That gets, like, a pop, you know?
Yeah.
And then my cousin calls me one day. He's like, hey, man, don't be doing that stuff. Like, it's like, that's corny. Like, you're never going to scale it long term, you know? It's like, it hurts us more than it helps you, you know?
Yeah, what I hear a lot now is locally here in Dallas, at least, is you still get a big group of comics from any minority, right, where they're like, see a lot of white people in the room, and they instantly go that route, and you're like, it's getting a laugh, but it's like, you're better than that. You got something better. Because it's like, I don't care that you're saying, like, you can make as many white jokes as you want. That's not going to bother me, but it's like you're kind of reducing yourself a little bit, and you're like really pigeonholing yourself of what you're going to talk about, and it's not that interesting. It's like, we all kind of know the cultural differences at this point.
Right.
You going to say anything that's really mind-blowing?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Not at all. You know, most comics don't ask themselves the question, like, would you pay money to see yourself? And would you pay money to see yourself twice? Like, comics don't ask themselves that. Like, you can get like the Uncle Roger thing. You can get away with it once, right? But good luck doing it twice, 3 times. You know, it's like.
So, do you think you would pay to see yourself right now?
That's a good question. I honestly, well, I'm not a headliner, so I definitely wouldn't. Like, but from the 15, like the Kessler, I think that's a worthwhile 15 to see money for. I think it's a very tight 15 that like is relatable and unique. You know, but if I scale it to an hour, I think I would. But I think there's other aspects to being a good headliner too, like being able to connect with the crowd. Yeah, you know, and like actually being someone like you want to hang out with afterwards. Like I think there's a whole aspect of that I haven't really tapped into yet. But
what do you think is going to be the hardest thing for you writing an hour? Because like, do you see yourself as a person who wants to write, I'm going to write kind of a list of jokes that'll fill up an hour? Or do you see yourself going down a path of like, I want to put these jokes all in one kind of vein? Yeah,
it's like, Ali Sadiq, his special Domino Effect. Yeah. That's a beautiful special, right? But then you look at his early stuff, it's just jokes that worked for an hour. Yeah. So I think every comic, you just got to like fill up the hour first with just killers. Yeah. Like banger jokes. And then you could finally have like the inventory and like the playing time to like get like a hour theme set, So I think to answer your question, I would just fill up the hour, just jokes I know works, like tight stuff, and then go from there to go for vein specific.
I can't decide which I like more or like what I think. Like from doing this podcast, all of the things that I thought were kind of rules are slowly going away,
Yeah.
Like I got to record a special with Lawrence, and so I loved that his hour was kind of themed around a certain thing.
I watched it. It was beautiful. It was beautiful, man.
Well, I loved how he themed it around his family, his addictions, and like trying to get over the hump of like, I don't want to be that person anymore. I'm trying to be this person now. And so that was just his way of kind of closing it all out. Yeah. And now when you talk to him, he feels like a different person in a sense that his whole life is different from who he was when he wrote that set. Yeah. So it definitely feels like he's put it behind him. And he even talks a lot about, he's like, I'm going to be talked to as a person who was addicted to meth and had all these mistakes for like a couple more years probably. He's like, now it's up to me to put out something else to show them that I'm deeper than that. I've got more layers. But now I'm real interested in, it's like with social media exploding and the ability to record things and release them so easily now where you don't need a network. Yeah. Now I've gotten really interested in I think like if you guys work on your hour, but anytime there is like some kind of side part of your life that would never fill up an hour, Kevin DeAnda, like I'm praying, I'm praying.
The marathon comeback.
I'm praying that he will write just a killer 30 minutes about that experience.
Yeah.
Just specifically that experience,
Yeah.
nothing else, and record it and just release it as like the marathon special or something.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
You know, but it's totally separate from his regular stand-up.
Right, yeah.
Like, I've kind of gotten really interested in that of like, well, what's something that would never be an hour, but it's not really 5 minutes, that you could really turn into like, it's its own thing. We could record that and make it look really good, release it, but you can still have like, if you want to go get booked at a club, you've got material.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know, because I think everybody's got these little pockets of their lives that are so interesting. But trying to figure out, well, where do you put that? Because the club, I don't know if the club wants to hear this every weekend, or, you know, like, how, is he going to get up there for 6 months talking about a marathon?
Yeah,
at clubs?
working it. That's the biggest issue with my Vietnamese
know?
project on the side. Like, how am I going to work that?
Yeah,
you know, I
it's
have like a
tough.
couple of jokes written. It's like, well, I got to get Vietnamese people to listen to this stuff. It's just tough, you know? So.
I didn't think about that. You can't really test it on your audience. Because if you
Yeah.
go to an open mic speaking Vietnamese,
Yeah.
good luck.
Or
Right?
even just Vietnamese topics. It's like, I really want Vietnamese people that look like me to really love it. You know what I mean? So that's the goal. So.
Yeah. Well, are there any like Vietnamese online groups or anything?
Vietnamese online groups?
Yeah.
Kumon
You know, is there like a
It's
Facebook group or something you could join?
there probably is. Like, yeah, I think I see a Facebook
You
group.
probably don't have a Facebook though, right?
yeah.
the younger generations aren't doing that now. But
I love Facebook. That's
yeah,
how I
yeah.
get booked by older comics, to be honest with you. That's how they know me. So
you should find random groups of Vietnamese people online and just tell them like, I'm thinking about trying something like this. Do y'all have like,
I like that.
I don't know, like a cookout or something?
Yeah.
Whatever gathering
Yeah.
of 15 or 20 people
Oh, yeah.
that you could swing by and run 5 to 10 minutes on.
I like that.
And they might love just being a part of it. It's new to everyone, right? So it
Yeah.
could be totally weird and not work.
Yeah.
Or it could be something really interesting and fun.
Yeah.
And then it could, who knows how that'll kind of mold the set and like your process of doing it.
Yeah.
Because really you just need a gathering of people.
Right. That sample size, yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe that's a way where you start, well, yeah, you know, I do everything else in English. I'm working on this. But if y'all ever want to catch a set, you know, I got something coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
It's like you might introduce a whole new group of people to comedy around here.
That'd be cool. There's only 0.6% of them, so I'll find them. That's not too hard to track down, you know.
I wonder out of the 0.6, like the spread of like what major cities and like,
yeah.
I wonder how much DFW has out of that 0.6.
Probably 0.3 in DFW, 0.3 in Houston, if I had to guess. There ain't much. I've traveled the country.
There you go, man.
comedy.
That's your two markets.
Yeah.
That's all you got to
Yeah,
do.
world trip is going to be 4-hour round trip, so don't even worry about that.
No, but think about it. That could be really fun though.
Yeah,
if
I
you're
will
going
think
like
about
someone's got their son's graduation party
Yeah.
and all the families there,
Yeah.
and they're like, we've got you a comic for your party. He's gonna
Yeah.
do some stuff in Vietnamese. He's working on it.
Yeah.
It's like it'd be weird enough at the worst. You would have an interesting story about how
Right.
terrible this idea was,
Right.
you know. But
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, anyway, I've kept you here long enough, man. I appreciate you swinging through.
That was fun. Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, of course, man.
That's awesome.
Anything you want to plug before you get out of here?
Yeah, Danny Tran Comedy on all socials, and then my website's DannyTranComedy.com, and you see my EPK there are shows, so we'd love to work around Dallas.
All right, I'm trying to work this question in every show now, but it doesn't have to be here in our scene since you just moved here. But who are a couple comics, lower level comics that you think people should be looking out for, whether it's here, Georgia, Peoria, wherever?
Yeah. It's Victor Tran. Definitely, he's in New York now. He's phenomenal, man. Just a good dude, you know. My friend Jordan Meadows in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I think, man, he's so slept on. He's like, when you say the term up and coming, he's coming up. Like, he's like on the brink of his breaking. You know, he's a very funny guy. And then here in Dallas, man, I love Seth Coles. Man.
Yeah.
Seth Coles is like, anytime I would see him live at the back door, I'm like, this is just must-see TV. So
He's a local favorite, man. He's been doing it around here for a while.
I hope he gets like more national recognition. Man, he's just a phenomenal joke writer, man.
All
So
right.
those three.
Right on, man. Appreciate it. And hit me up anytime you want to come back.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.